The walls of time are breaking down. You need to listen. The only way to save the universe. Watch Type 40.
Oh, yes, it is that time. It's that time, whatever your time stream or time zone. Time for Type 40 Live, materialising with the live stream Doctor Who magazine show across your view screen in real time on Rumble X YouTube and on Facebook too. We're always in front of a live chat full of friends, fans and companions just like you. Thank you, everybody. Fasten your seatbelts. Here we are again for more Doctor Who talk. We've had masses of feedback following that deep dive we did on the ratings last week. Said it was going to be worth the wait, didn't we? And we've got lots of new travellers too who've jumped aboard this week, this season. In fact, thank you. Get comfy, everyone. Loosen up and bring your comments wherever you stand, wherever you sit, come to think of it, on the past, present and future of the Whoniverse. 61 years and counting and 15 incarnations of the Doctor. Where on earth will we start? There'll be something for everybody on this edition of Type 40 Live. Don't look so concerned, both. Don't look so concerned. I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks. Now you can look concerned. And here we are again for more Type 40 Live. Anything good on the telly lately? Anything good to put on the view screen? You can tell us in a little while. Happy to welcome you all to the console here, whether it's your first or your 156th time or any number in between. This is where we get into it for a couple of hours worth of Doctor Who talk. Shameless geekery here at Type 40 Live with myself and bunch of Time Lords that we're going to huddle around here, and everybody there, of course, in the live chat across YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. Of course, if you're in the Type 40 Facebook group, you've got to remember to hit that little blue link, because when you hit the little blue link there, Facebook will tell StreamYard who you are, and StreamYard will tell us, and we'll all get on first name terms. It's just a lot friendlier, particularly when the lights are lower and we huddle around the screen there to see what's going on. So what's going on? What's going on with me? Well, I'll fill you in as we go along. Let's find out what's going on with them. First of all, he's here, perched and lips pursed, ready to let fly with the truth bombs in the way that I know you love as much as we do. It can only be Mr. Simon Horn.
Yeah, truth bombs. I don't know if I dare drop any truth bombs at the moment.
That good, is it?
What could it possibly be? What truth bombs could we be dropping post 73 yards? Whew, who can say?
The night is young, Simon. The night is young. How are you?
Indeed it is. Yeah, I'm good. Apart from the fact it's now just started pouring with rain about just before we went on. Yeah, I know. This flipping summer, it's been a washout so far in been
a weird one so far, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. But there we go. You know, things can only get better as the old song goes.
Speaking of what's on the telly, Simon, we're halfway through the latest season of Doctor Who, but you've seen a few come and go now, haven't you, over the years?
Oh, flipping heck, I have and a half, and I've dropped out a few times as well. I have dropped out in the past. Could this be one of the times that I'm dropping out? Who can say?
Oh, if that's not a tease, I don't know what is. Speaking of tease, that has to be a cue for our real life time traveller. It's Mr. Matt Potts.
Oh, it's me. Hi.
Yeah, you're on.
Yeah,
You're on, Matt. You're on. Put it away. Hello, mate. How are you this week?
Hello. I want my summer back.
Well, we haven't stolen it.
Yeah, we haven't started ours yet.
We're a day away from winter. It's absolutely it's getting bad.
The Stolen Summer. That sounds like the title of a Russell T Davies episode from A Far Better Season, doesn't it? Who has our summer, wherever you are in the world out there across YouTube, Rumble, Facebook and X? If you've got our summer, please let us know.
We all want it back. We all want it back.
A good barometer of how summery it is or not, of course, is how many layers Charlotte Shields is wearing. Are we into double figures, Charlotte?
No, it's whether I'm wearing a jumper or not. That's the gauge I've worked out. Because if I don't, people notice. It makes me laugh every time. I go, yeah, because we've got a bit of sun for once. But as Simon and everybody said, it's disappeared again. So hopefully it comes back.
You having a good week off?
Oh, it's been lovely. Like to actually decompress a bit, and
decompress.
Like we've got and just be away for a little bit.
See, now, Decompress sounds like the title from a Stephen Moffat minisode, doesn't it? You'd find on the Red Button about 10, 12 years ago.
That you wouldn't know existed till about 10 years after the fact. And then you'd think, oh, it explains that bit of that episode I didn't get in that season, right?
Yes, it was exclusive to Apple TV in the middle of Series 6 or something like that.
And it explained a key plot point that you were completely lost on in the actual episode.
Oh, these showrunners, they confound us with every twist and turn, don't they, Simon?
Indeed, they do. They've confounded me, that's for sure.
I tell you what else confounds me. Where on earth has the mega geek Ian David Diaz been?
Hello.
Where have you been? Down the corner shop.
I'm glad he wasn't doing something else.
I've been working.
He's been working.
And I've been trying to avoid Doctor Who, this new Doctor Who, at all costs. So that's where I've been.
Yeah, and he just talked to us because we've been watching it.
I know. I think I'll take a nap while you guys talk about it.
So, Ian, you haven't been watching Doctor Who. What have you been watching?
I've been what was the last thing I watched? I can't even remember.
Coronation
Something
Street.
on Netflix. No, I don't watch them. I don't watch Netflix.
Must have been good.
Anymore. Something on Netflix, some film on Netflix. Oh, Ford versus Ferrari. That was the last thing I watched on Netflix.
Top film.
I thought it was really good. Yeah, I thought it was really good. Really good.
Yeah, it's got a different title in other countries, I think. Yes, it's a cracker.
Yeah, it's a good film. That was the last thing I watched.
Cracking movie.
Not watching this Doctor Who. No, not for me. Good luck. Good luck, everybody.
It's been a couple of weeks since we've dragged that out. And it's been a couple of weeks, too, since we've caught up with our friend John Yulden as well. But I'm happy to say, completing the panel this time, here he is. Aha!
Hello, how are you?
Hello, John.
Hello.
Hey, good to see you.
Hello. Good evening, mate. Good evening. And how are you? What's going on with you?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. My series, I'm doing Star Trek, the original series at the moment. I'm going through those. So I've switched.
Very nice.
Is that on Netflix?
That's on Netflix,
yeah. Great quality. Great quality episodes I've got on there. They're clean superbly. So yeah, it's really good one.
I did all of TOS about 6 or 7 years ago, and just before the COVID thing, and I adored it. I mean, there are peaks and valleys like everything else, particularly like Doctor Who. But my God, what a hit rate of episodes on season 2 in particular! Fantastic stuff. Yep. Loved it. So yeah, I suppose we're here to talk about Doctor Who rather than Star Trek. This is season 1, so they keep telling us. Let's talk about TOS instead. Yes, season 1 of Doctor Who, so they keep telling us we're halfway through this menu of episodes now. We're about to start the second half.
Halfway through.
I know. We've barely begun.
It certainly has shot by, that's for sure.
But
hang in there.
It's a bumpy ride.
It is. But whilst we're halfway through this, would you believe that a few days ago they had the wrap party for season 2? This is Russell T Davies and Michelle Greenidge, who plays Ruby's mum, Carla, of course, in Doctor Who, in the present era of Doctor Who. And there they are, out on the balcony there. It looks like they're in the smokers area outside the Wetherspoons in Cardiff Bay for the wrap party of season 2 of Doctor Who. It does look a little bit low rent, and but I think they have gone out for some fresh air, both of them perhaps a little bit far gone. There was a video as well up on Michelle's X account of her dancing at the disco, which is lots of fun. She looks like she's on the outside of a few beers. Best of luck to her. Absolutely brilliant. But yeah, can you believe this? The wrap party of season 2 already, Simon?
Well, yeah, Davis doesn't look desperately happy. He's not doing his usual tooth grin, is he? Can we read anything into that, do we suppose? Who can say?
Perhaps we can. Yeah, so when you see things like this, Charlotte, it really does, it hammers home, doesn't it, how far in advance they're working on this show.
Yeah, and I just think it's a bad idea. Like, I think in general it's a bad idea to not have any breathing space, because we said this before, he can't tweak or change anything. It's been filmed straight after series 1. So even if like the stuff he personally would like to change, this is before even fan reaction, but especially with the fan reaction now that we're getting from this series going out, you it's like a conveyor belt. You can't do anything. It's in motion. You can't stop it. So the only series we'll see any possible reaction, whether that's writing wise, is series 3, which is, I think it's just a bad idea.
I mean, I suppose they could. We talked about this briefly last week, Charlotte. I suppose it's possible they could, if needs be, do some reshoots. It's not inconceivable.
Yeah, but the core plot stuff you can't shift.
The core plots are done. You're quite right. Yeah, and given the sort of not just the fan reaction, Charlotte, it is the general public's reaction as well from the viewing figures. You wonder whether it might have been worth going in a completely different direction with series 2. If series 2 is a continuation of what we've had from series 1, which isn't really hitting home with people, it would have been worth potentially recalibrating and going off in a completely different direction. But as you say, too late for that now. Too late.
You'll probably find that in season 2, the FX it won't be there because they'll use all that money for reshoots. So there'll be nothing else. There'll be no shots or anything. It'll just be talking.
I'm just looking forward to the sequel to Space Babies.
Yeah, Space Tweenies, where they're all a little bit older. Do you know what? It could be like those documentaries, like 7 Up and 14 Up and 21 Up, John, where we catch up with the babies.
In that case, I'm looking forward to 74 yards, which might actually explain what the hell was going on in 73 yards. Good luck on that one, Mr. Davis.
My niece has just had a baby, and
we don't have yards, do we?
I looked at her buggy the other day, and I thought, I've got the perfect cosplay for Dwaz next year if I go
on.
Yeah, come as a space baby.
Yeah, get some lights sticking on it.
Get a flamethrower on the go. Get the temperatures. Talk about soaring temperatures. I think that one person who has come out of season 1 very well so far, particularly after last weekend, is Millie Gibson, who plays Ruby Sunday. People have been talking about Doctor Who this week, whether it's for better or worse, I'm not entirely sure, but not many people have anything bad to say about Millie's performance as Ruby.
No, sorry, we'll come back to that later then. Sorry, because clearly I'm the only person in the world that thought it absolutely stank to high heaven, but there we go.
Well, I'm not necessarily saying they're talking for because they enjoyed it, but I think it's an episode that has got people talking, and I think it's put Millie Gibson on the map. Yeah, I think that 73 yards has been the most I've seen the normies and the casuals talk about Doctor Who since the episode Rosa back in 2018. Maybe, since then.
Wow.
Yeah, that again, it's a similar principle though. Whether you love it or you hate it, that episode got people talking. It felt it's provoked a response from people, and it's better to provoke some sort of response. I mean, the big response from me came from 40-year-old Ruby. There, that reminded me of my days on Tinder, Matt. I would definitely have swiped right on.
No, she looks about 60 there.
She's meant to be 40 there. She's meant to be 40.
Yeah, she's supposed to be 40. Yeah.
Okay.
25
Gave
years
glasses
span, yeah.
then. Let's go for glasses, and that's that. Then.
Yeah. I did a nice line in those. Yeah, good stuff. And here they are. This is the current cast of Doctor Who. This is that annoying friend you take on a night out who insists on having just that bit too much to drink far too early on in the night. I think. What do you reckon of this one, then, Ian?
Just please take him off the screen. I can't. Such an idiot.
Yeah.
It's not even the Doctor.
I have to be honest. I'm afraid my patience has now worn out with him. He's just a grinning goon that's clearly had far too much tartrazine. It's just unwatchable for me now.
So you must have been at least pleased to see the Doctor, as played by Ncuti Gatwa, take an early exit from the episode at the weekend, Simon.
Well, I guess I was, because I have to be honest, I really am sick to the back teeth of him now. I cannot stand him. I don't think he can act. He's desperately miscast in the role. He shouldn't be there, in my opinion. He really, all he can do is goon and goof around and grin like an idiot, and I'm sick of it. So yes, I was pleased to see him disappear after 30 seconds. But I'm left wondering, I just don't get how after only 4 episodes in, and we're in a Dr. Light episode. We talked about this last week. I think you mentioned this, Charlotte. How can we be in a Dr. Light episode?
There were lots of rumours about it, and I didn't believe them.
Simon, it gets better. I think this Saturday is going to be a Dr. Light one again.
Do you know?
Those are the rumours.
I was on the
So
Rabbi's
that's 2,
channel, and
possibly.
he was reviewing the second episode, and then he showed me a picture of what was to come, which was the episode you're talking about. And the first thing I said was, "What the hell is he wearing?" That was the first thing I said, and I just thought to myself, "My God, this is how far Doctor Who has gone, and it's not even real Doctor. He was wearing like a
Paddington Bear
hat." Yeah, or what's with the orange? I just don't understand.
They love orange. They do love orange.
We talked about this last week. I mean, I thought it was by far the most successful of his costumes, certainly so far, and of the ones that we've seen in pictures, John, the most Doctorish. But that's not really saying a great. That's not really saying a great deal.
No, it's not. And you know, I think for me with him, it's. I've said before, you look for the Doctor moment, and I just can't see a Doctor moment with him at the moment. It just, you know, everyone's entitled to their opinions, but every time he speaks, I'm waiting for that. Each Doctor's had something, and I just haven't seen it yet. It may happen. I may be amazed, but it's the outfit as well. They made a big mistake not giving him a set outfit.
I think that's the main thing that's holding it back, because I've actually seen several Doctor moments with this guy now. I'm actually pretty happy that they've got the right guy, but now I just think that he's being weighted down by stupid decisions and mismanagement. Let us know what you think, of course, in the comments section, as always, across Facebook, Rumble, X, and here on YouTube in the comments section. Let's go and find out who's turned up as well. We've got a thriving comment section full of opinions and takes and all sorts. Let's see what they make of all this nonsense.
Hi guys, and welcome to Type 40.
Great stuff.
And wow, it's starting earlier than ever, Ian. We've got YW was in about 6 or 7 hours ago. Finally, I'm able to join this one. Looking forward. Wow, looking forward the best part of the day. But thank you for being here anyway. Heretics also in with a good evening. You beautiful lot, Matt. You beautiful lot. Nice to be appreciated.
This like that race around the world sort of show now, where everyone's trying to get in as early as possible to win.
Yeah, who's going to be the first?
We've got Enigmatic Joker as well back in the live chat. It's been a while. I haven't seen you around for a little while, Joker, but happy to have you back with us. We've got Kelly as well. Kelly in the live chat. I'm grateful for watching the recaps. And you're all taking this for the team. Well, some of us are, some of us aren't. Some of us aren't watching it, but some of us are. But we're all still here anyway. This is the show that brought us together. Matthew Butterfield's here in the live chat. We've got Rose Kirby back as well. Hello, wherever you are. Good morning, afternoon, and evening. I couldn't, covering all bases as always. Cinnamon Toast Crunch is in too. Hiya, CTC. And we've got Ahoy Shipmates from Crimpling Doubloon too. Happy to have you back. Who else is here? Peter Harrington's in. Charlotte, good evening all, with that amazing emoji of the... who did we say that was again?
Angry kid.
Jinx,
Angry-
my
yeah,
favourite
angry.
villain of all time.
Jinx Monsoon.
Thank heaven for Charlie. My name is Charlie, so they claim. Howdy, normal
Good name.
people. It's the name of your dog, isn't it, Matt?
It is the name of my dog.
It's the cat, Charlie. The cat. No, anyway, sorry. Carry on.
You're right. There is a cat called Charlie, isn't there?
Charlie, yeah,
Charlie
there is,
Says, isn't it?
Yeah.
Charlie Says, yeah. There you go.
We have, they're really coming at it here. The chat is jumping all over the place. Lord Thoth's in as well. Happy to have you back, Lord Thoth, with your wrench there. Thank you for being here, mate. Your wrench with spanner, we call them here, but whichever works fine by us either way. Tom from T Dwarf Productions is with us too. Hi, everyone. I'm nearly done with my army of clay spiders.
Wow.
He's been at it for weeks, this man.
Yeah.
That's
Like
it for
to see a
weeks.
picture.
We'll come back to Tom
When you're done. Yeah.
I'd love
We'll
to see
come
the
back to
great
Tom.
one, yeah.
in a little moment. All praise to the great one, he adds. All praise to Gary Akers, to the Retro
Gary.
Doc, and a big happy birthday to Gary, too. Gary, one of our
Gary,
longest supporters here and occasional panelist as well.
What are you
Good
doing
friend of
watching
the
this?
channel.
You should be celebrating your birthday. Why are you
that
doing
He
this?
is.
Go
So
out and
he does.
celebrate.
Not with Russell, with us.
And with us,
Is that Jinx Monsoon life-size cutout turned up for you yet, Gary? Just let me know if it has been.
It's only because we care, isn't it, John? Only because we care.
Yeah, exactly.
Happy birthday, mate. Happy birthday.
Got a hello from Psychic Beats too. Garbage is in as well.
Yeah,
It
Garbage.
wouldn't have been the same without Garbage, would it, Charlotte? Rob Alexander's here. And so is Darren, direct from the Darren Zone. Darren Apken, greetings from the land of song. But give us a song, Darren.
I like his
Do you have a good voice? Yeah, who is that in the Avatarian? I can't quite make it out.
It's nice. It's nice.
I think that's actually him.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Darren?
It's
Yeah.
like AI almost, it looks like to me.
Yeah,
but it's
bit of
him.
AI. Yeah, a lot of AI.
Oh, right, okay.
Darren AI, Ken. Yeah. I like it. Keep it coming. Melanie Weston Investigates is also. We still don't know what Melanie's investigating, but hopefully we'll find out one.
I like that picture. It's a
Yeah.
Yeah,
Colour
that's
AI.
nice one.
good-
Yeah.
Sarah, what's her name? By any chance, is it? No, it's probably her.
Sarah, is that Sarah? What's her name? I don't know.
Who are you
You've
calling
lost
Ho?
Yes, say his name and he's bound to appear. The Svila Betkin, the rabbi from another planet, says, "Hey ho!" Not that kind of ho. The kind of using the garden, Matt.
Good on you,
Well,
sir.
go there, Matt.
Robert Payne.
I thought
Good
it was a
evening and
hangover.
hello again to some from Robert Payne. Hello again. And hello again to Ash Finn there in the live chat. Greetings and salutations, one and all, from the Big T himself, Tony Farrell. Do that, don't I? Just
It's a
Big
master,
T.
that is.
And who else is here? Oh, yeah, they're all lining up. Look at this. We've got loads from Tom as well. Fabulous stuff. Keep the comments coming. We want all of this and that and the other. I think we've all had enough of the other now and again.
Yeah.
But you know the kind of thing I mean. Fill up the live chat there. Or if, by all means, if you're 2 parts pissed already, then save it for the comments. We're eager for any Doctor Who commentary you have about the new stuff, the old stuff, and the stuff that's to come as well. Okay, where shall we go next?
So you went into a phone box with a mobile
They
phone.
phoned me, it was raining. It was pouring rain, that's why. So I went in there to get
So you
some
went into a
rain.
phone box and you had a mobile.
To cry in private.
I was hoping it was a Tardis.
Swat.
I know, crap.
Still funny. Still funny.
Was he allowed to say that on a daytime?
Probably
TV
not.
show?
What did he say? I don't even know what
No.
he said. What did he say?
I'll tell you later.
I thought he said splat.
In case you haven't noticed, we're deep into season 1 of all new Doctor Who, stars Ncuti Gatwa and Millie Gibson, and obviously it is making some of our weeks perhaps more so than others. I mean, Simon, as you say, you can't stand the sight of this guy now.
Nope, afraid not.
I don't know how the general public are taking to it all, but getting ahead of it. at least it's being sort of promoted finally, Matt. So we've had the posters, we've had the adverts, we've got the thing in cinemas in a few weeks' time. We had the bus, and the train. They got the train in the States, and there's actually going to be some merchandise. So Titan merchandise is bringing us the official season 1 collection, the world's first merchandise for the 15th Doctor's era. So it says, and I thought you'd appreciate, Simon, a quick look at what's 2024. This is good gift ideas, you see. I know Christmas
for the
is
people
somewhere.
that you hate, for friends that you want to lose.
Well, you may feel differently once you've taken a look at these. So
I bet he's grinning in a lot of them, isn't he?
Well, it kicks off. Now, this one does feature the 15th Doctor, but you see what I mean. It's not going to wind you up quite so much. This is the Hi There pin badge that's out on the 24th of June 2024. So the Doctor's on it, but you can't see him. Hi there, I'm the Doctor, it says. And you've got this sort of triangular.
I was expecting it to say, hi there, honey.
I just think that that's completely pointless. You just can't tell that's Doctor Who at all. That is not Doctor Who. It's simply
John.
There's two things there. One is with that pose, it looks like he's unbuckling his trousers to go to the toilet.
Just needs a streak in between.
Yeah. And the other one is, have they just literally nicked something from Superman? Because it's a Superman pose, isn't it? Basically,
it is.
Yeah,
backed worryingly, almost by a rainbow. We're kind of back to rainbows, aren't we?
I think we're getting there. We're getting there. I mean, this actually reminds me more of something you'd find at the Church of Scientology, Charlotte. It's not really Doctor Who, is it?
Well, no, but it's like we talked about the not having a set costume. That silhouette isn't recognisable as Ncuti because it's not one costume you identify with him.
So you can't have a silhouette.
So you can't have a silhouette.
No, you're right.
And that shows that perfect.
There's his bobble hat. Yeah.
It's a really good point, actually. Really good point. How can you have a silhouette when there's no set costume?
Like, if that was Matt, for example, you'd see the silhouette of the jacket,
yes.
the tweed jacket, and
the
sort of his hair and other bits of him that you could
What's
really
with the triangle as
identify
well? What's with the triangle?
I have no idea. If it was any other Dr. Charlotte, Ian, I have no idea what they're going for with this.
I have a funny suspicion because that looks like part of that new flag that they're promoting at the moment for Pride.
There's another new Pride flag. Seriously.
Yeah. Each country has a triangle in the side of it now. Yeah.
I mean, further on from that, and I honestly don't think this is the case, but the thought flashes across my mind. It used to be a pink triangle that gay people would wear to signify to other gay people when this was back in the day when you kind of had to be firmly in the closet. A pink triangle you would wear to signify that you were gay. And so it's I mean, I can't. I feel that is just one speculation too far. In all honesty, even I don't actually believe that's why it's a triangle. But
buying that in.
Fair.
Robert Payne reminds us, alternatively, Simon, that triangles are a signing of a warning in the highway code. So could it be that instead?
Yeah, Robert, it's a warning. Stay away from this person, a Doctor Who.
Oh, look, that's pretty mundane compared to.
I think we're probably being a little bit speculative on it, but
do you have the cycling proficiency test in Tasmania, Matt?
No, you can just ride a bike if you want to.
Wow.
Is that what you mean?
Freedom. That's the definition of freedom, isn't it?
You don't have to. Anyone can get on a bike if they want to.
And Doctor Who 1963 suggests it could be the triangle from the 5 Doctors that steals all the Doctors and takes them off wherever. Off to the death zone. It's possible. Shah's in the live chat too. Happy Type 40 Day, lads. Lots of S's there. I think you're an honorary lad, Charlotte.
Woman, thank you very much.
I think you're included, love.
Come on.
Limey.
A very beautiful lady.
You're one of the lads. You're definitely one of the lads.
Yeah.
Limykins says there is a box of tissues on sale with the Doctor Who branding. Is there really?
That's so you can cry as you're watching the episodes, or you just cry along with the Doctor. You cry with the Doctor.
To pass them out to the.
Have to see that. Yeah, Instagram and X at Type 40 Doctor Who. We want to see that. Moving on, we have more artwork. We have an art print. Matt, you're going to love this. This is an art print and magnet. It's released on the 7th of June 2024, so just over a week away, and it's right up your street. Here for the fun. Are you here for the fun, honey?
All I can say is thanks, babes.
That's awful. That convinces me why I'm no longer watching Doctor Who. That tells me why I'm out. That
looks like a political type of poster. You know, like the Obama type thing.
Country needs you.
And we're back, and we are back to rainbows, aren't we? It's all rainbows again. It's all rainbows.
Here's the other thing I'm thinking of. Shooty's never had that pose in the show.
No.
He's never actually stood like that.
Well, we're back to the silhouette as well, Charlotte. That obviously is the image that they've used for the silhouette on the other one. But you're right. When you've never seen the pose, it doesn't work.
That seems more of a gay badge. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah.
So much already is just coming across that they've not put in something identifiable out to his doctor at all. If they're picking poses he never used in the show, if they can't keep to one costume naturally because of the way they've done it, it's like there's nothing to clearly start to market him at this point.
Even down to the shoes. Even down to the shoes. He wears different shoes in every...
I guess they just seem to be marketing it on the strength of the fact that we all love Shooty, which obviously we do. All love Shooty. And his grinning, goony buffoonery.
Neville Watkins says, what the heck are they thinking? And Psychic Beats says, okay, I've been on board with this era and I've been enjoying it. Me too, Psychic Beats. But that badge and poster is horrendous.
I'm seeing the trademark thing on it.
They're aiming for the gay community, aren't they? That's
Sorry, Ian. I'm just
saying. I don't know as they are, Ian. I mean, I can speak.
I'm
from
not getting that necessarily.
It's not appealing to me. I wonder whether they're trying to. I honestly don't know.
Well, hold on.
Who they are appealing to.
Yeah, maybe not the gay community. The what do you call it? The long letters community.
LGBT.
Yeah. Because it says honey, and it's got the
But it says there. It says the Doctor Who logo is trademark. Where's the Doctor Who logo? There's nothing there to say Doctor Who.
Well, that's what I say, Max. They're kind of peddling this on the strength that we all love Shooty, which is something of a gamble, really. But there we go.
It is strange imagery. It's a colour barcode, suggests Peter in the live chat.
I'll try and scan that and see how you go.
So I think it's appealing to people who've got more money than sense, to be honest. Moving on, we've got more. There's more, believe it or not. We've got the mug.
Here's the logo.
We've got the matching mug there. You can drink from the head.
You can only be a mug if you're going to buy that one.
Ncuti Gatwa. Same design. Also out on the 7th of June, but at least the diamond logo is in there somewhere this time, Matt.
Yeah, but it's at the wrong angle. I mean, I'd rather just have one with the logo.
When is it out, June?
So would I.
Is it June?
7th of June, mate. You've just got a week to wait.
It does seem very, very questionable.
Very quick.
50% off bargain bucket bin, can't you?
Yeah.
In the next couple of weeks.
It's very cheaply, quickly produced.
Yeah, and the problem is they are sort of riding this on the strength of Shooty, and we've only had him in sort of like 3 episodes so far. How can we have fallen in love with this character after only 3 episodes? And this again is where it just sort of, to me, and I know I'm probably alone in this, to me it smacks of arrogance. It smacks of this self-satisfied smugness that of course we're all going to love Shooty. And we're not. You've got to convince us. You've got to sell this character.
Why does it say honey at the top?
The version of the show.
That's not what he says all the time.
He does say it, yeah.
He says honey and babes all the time.
So,
he says it at least once per episode, and yeah, it's it doesn't grate on me the way it does others, but I do see why I do see why some people find it a bit of a turn off. If somebody's turned on by it. If somebody's turned on by it, they can spread the joy finally with this greetings card there.
Oh, good grief! They've got one design and they've flogged it to death, haven't they? They just assume we're absolutely going to love this design. You'd think they'd come up with a
it's an all-purpose greetings card, so you get to pick the reason why you can send that to someone you I don't know mildly despise.
It'll be on its way to Simon for his birthday, no doubt.
You can stop that right now. I'm going to be inundated with these things on my birthday. I know I am. I hate you all already.
People in the live chat they're off giving the credit card a bit of a good hiding. They're pre-ordering all this stuff. I'm sure it will sell out and be on eBay for hundreds of pounds, suggests Hardest Travels.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
You could literally make that yourself.
They're barking mad, suggests Neville Watkins.
Yeah.
Could be right. You could be right. Complacency, suggests Robert Payne. Well, you say that, but they are trying. This one is a limited edition. There's only going to be 2024 of these made.
Oh, so the whole audience then.
So get on this.
It's so shit. It really is.
So get on this now if you want the Who Are You collectible commemorative season 1 pin, everybody. There we are with it.
You're right, Simon. You're right, Simon.
This is
right,
awful.
It's rainbows all the way, isn't it, folks?
Yep.
Rainbows all the way.
You're dead on, Simon. You're dead on.
How can they have gotten it so wrong with this stuff yet again? I thought they were meant to be bringing the kids back. I really did.
Well, they are. That's what they're trying to bring the kids with, you know?
Yeah, it's true.
Limited.
It's
limited to what?
You know, join us. Join us.
Yeah, it's not looking good so far.
2024.
Only 2,000 and what available?
24.
Yeah. It's to put in the old scarcity mindset, isn't it? The people have got to.
Do we know how much they're selling for, Dan? Do we know how much they're trying to flog these for?
About 18 quid, something like that.
Wow.
Various prices. We've got this one as well. This is the this is the 15th Doctor's Sonic Screwdriver keyring. It's out on the 24th of June. Now this just looks like, because the Sonic Screwdriver now looks like a piece of tat. This looks worse than
a worse piece of tat. A really tatty piece of tat.
But do you know what that looks like? It looks like a children's shoe design.
Yeah, it does look like a shoe. I was thinking that it looks like a shoe.
At the garage up the road, they do the air fresheners for cars that you put in your mirror for £1.
Yes,
look better than
that's what it is. My God!
At least essence of shooty.
If this was identifiable, then people may buy it. I know it's early days. I'm not trying to be cruel, but I do think that they've got this line totally and utterly wrong. This is not going to get people back in the specialist shops, and it's certainly not iconography that's catching on at all. You can also get the 15th Doctor Sonic as a pin too. They're going mad on the pins. Same design, but again. That's not what it looks like, mate. I think
you can't say that.
Yeah.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch, that's a good one. R2D2 squashed into a keyring.
Yeah.
It does look a bit R2D2 like, doesn't it?
It's like a melting Death Star.
A bit squelchy. If you think that's bad, what about this one? This is the Bogeyman. You can get him on a pin as well.
You are kidding. Who is going to want one of those?
In bright green, in snot green there, Charlotte, would you pin that to your collar? Or do you think a colleague may try and wipe it off in the day?
Look on Charlotte's face.
Why would you point to the fact that your monster was that in a pin? Like, it was bad enough in the episode.
I've just
they thought that was a pin idea.
I've got this image of Charlotte when she goes back to school, like confiscating all these from kids, like just putting them in the drawer.
What kid would buy that?
No, trust me, you don't do that. You do that with Pokemon cards, not this stuff.
Absolutely nobody will buy this. Seriously, I'm wondering if there is something in this, and we should all be buying these and flogging them on eBay in years to come, because these will end up in the bargain bin, or like the ET game, they'll be buried out in the Utah desert. It is possible. It is possible.
But here's the thing: I just thought, like, take away the bogeyman. I said this. That's a good design monster. That actually wouldn't look half bad if it was just a monster design. But to have that in bright letters, what it actually is.
Yeah. That's the thing that kind of ruins it, isn't it? As though anybody's going to want to wear that. It also just goes to sort of show that actually, if you were to put a Dalek on there as a pin, you wouldn't need the word Dalek on it to tell people what it is. So it just is. However good, as Charlotte says, the design is in the show, and it just is never going to work as a pin.
It's laughable. It makes it look laughable by having.
To be fair, on those pins in the early to mid '60s, Matt, they had the Dalek and the Zarbi creatures from Web Planet and the Daleks. They did include the word Dalek and Zarbi on those.
The thing is, this is the sort of thing that they would include with a badge that you actually want. This sort of design.
Well, it's funny you should say that, Matt, because I know that if you don't go for this, I know you're going to go for this one. This is the Maestro.
Piss off.
What a load of bollocks.
And the people in the live chat. People in the live chat were demanding this, so you ask and ye shall receive. This is Jinx Monsoon's very own pin there, the Maestro. You too can remember that excruciating character that Jinx Monsoon brought to the screen just a few short weeks ago, and pin it to your person if you feel so inclined. So that's available right now.
Pink clips at the back, or just
Nobody's charmed. Nobody's charmed so far, I think, sadly. Nobody's charmed.
It's just awful, this is. Absolutely
The thing is, Simon, there's a fair argument to say that these are bits of tat, that you may sort of buy an impulse buy, John. We've all done that, haven't we? We've been at a Comic Con or whatever. We thought, I can't not buy something. I've got to buy. I'll buy a pin badge. It's relatively inexpensive.
I have
that kind of thing.
Badges, right? But these ones I actually want.
Well, that's one thing. Say you actually want a collectible that you can properly wear and get some practical use out of. They've come to the rescue. They've come to the rescue here with these unit T-shirts. Nothing says undercover military organisation does it like wearing the unit logo plastered across your chest in a choice of military grey, I think, or green. Is it khaki? No, it's khaki or jet black with a whiteout logo there, the new unit insignia, which looks even more bland than ever. It's very sad the way this is going, but it's an improvement. I think it's an improvement. At least it's recognisable, John.
Yeah, it is. I've just got an image now of walking down the high street in a few months' time, and a guy's coming towards me with an orange shooty beanie, a green unit T-shirt, a Jinx Monsoon badge,
and a few gift vouchers from Forbidden Planet. They didn't know what to get.
The logo looks like a TIE fighter, doesn't it? The logo looks
a
little.
TIE fighter.
Yeah, Garbage says that looks like Darth Vader's TIE fighter. And I also agree with Fly Highland. I hate this simplistic unit logo. Is that the one that appeared on screen? I must have missed it on screen.
It was in the specials as well, like when you saw like on the helipad and like around the building.
Okay, no, I clearly missed it, and there's a reason why I missed it, because it's rather uninspiring, isn't it?
Shouldn't they have dots in between the letters? I'm just thinking.
Well, it used to back in the day, Matt. I mean, I guess I can let that off, but it does. It makes more sense if there are the dots in between the letters.
Unit.
It's just the logo. It is dull. It's dull.
CTC says here, where can you order these again, Dan? Asking for a friend. This is all at forbiddenplanet.com. It looks like another word, says Daryl Joyce. I think I know the word that he means. And yes, it is unfortunate typography, I think. Then let's get that off screen. Yeah, let's see what else is in this range.
I can't unsee that now.
Oh, Jesus. I was waiting for a shirt with her on it. Bloody hell.
Even Kate's shocked by that one. Yeah, moving on. We've got the entire unit range here, so you can get the logo on tote bags, coasters, pin badges, keyrings, and on mugs. I don't think this logo looks good anywhere apart from on screen when it's a certain distance away on a helipad, Charlotte. I think it's too nondescript. It's too generic.
Yeah, and to be honest, I've got so many issues with at the moment unit in general, writing, how they're presented, how they're used. Like, they just seem to be really in a rut.
Weird, isn't it?
When it comes to what do we do with unit? Do we want to take it back to the more military roots? Do we want to make it a lot more techie and sci-fi? Like, they seem to really not know. And I think that shows in even something here. You can see almost here that not knowing what to do with it.
Well, the other thing that seems strange, Charlotte, is that that they're clearly, again, sort of trying to pump this Unit logo out there as though everybody loves Unit and everybody wants more Unit. But Unit is hardly in the new show. It's not like back in the Pertwee days when Unit was central to the show. It's not central to the show. It's something that was in 73 yards for about 2.5 minutes, if that.
Simon, Russell has recently said that he intends on making Unit a major part of each season now, just in the last couple of weeks.
But you again, yet again, you've got to make people fall in love with Unit before you start flogging them stuff. And so maybe they will become a major part, but I wouldn't consider us to say so far. The only thing we've really seen is in 73 yards for literally a couple of minutes. That's not a major part. So, which is nothing wrong with that. You can't, as a result, flog loads of merchandise on the back of it. I don't.
Well,
back in 2005,
but you know why as well? Because they're having a spin-off, so that's why Russell wants to have to be part of the show as well.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I mean, back in 2005, when Doctor Who hit pretty big from the get-go, people were complaining there simply wasn't, enough merchandise, barely any merchandise at all. And they said, be patient. I remember them saying, be patient, there's stuff coming. There was like 2 or 3 items, and then there was a deluge. And at the time, it felt like, why weren't they ready for this? But this is kind of the flip side to that, where they're kind of too ready, and they're making those sort of assumptions, just as you say, Simon.
And and it does just feel a sort of smugness to me. It feels as though they've already decided we're all going to love this series and we're all going to want to buy just about everything from it. And yet, ironically, they seem to have spent so little time and effort and money actually coming up with good designs for it. So that's the irony.
Say, I've worked with badges, okay, those sort of badges, and they take 6 weeks from design to production to being on the shelves. 6 weeks.
That's short.
That short. Literally that short.
I can't believe it.
Yeah. So they could have spent a bit longer coming up with some decent designs. You really do wonder who on earth is putting these designs together, who's approving them.
Maybe they've stopped all the other production that they were going to do, like the Jinx Monsoon Dole and all this sort of stuff. Maybe they've stopped all that, the Space Babies action figures and all that sort of stuff.
Pull the cord and it's they, them, they, them, they, them.
They're banking on people actually liking these characters. Of course they are, CTC. Of course.
That's what I'm saying.
Of course, they're hoping that we would take the 15th Doctor to our hearts and put him up on our wall or on our fridge. We've got coasters, we've got magnets, the 15th Doctor giving off that kind of, it's like 1970s logo there. They're really, really leaning into the kind of shaft quality,
and the rainbow again.
And the rainbow, they're really leaning into the rainbow. They're definitely going for I don't know whether they're going for a gay market, but they're certainly going for a gay feel.
How does it work then with the licensing of these products? Do they, like BBC Studios, their departments basically say, right, this is what we want, and then they send it off to people to make them, or do they take pictures in for certain designs? How does it work for someone like me who doesn't know?
A bit of both. It depends on. It can depend on the company. I mean, sometimes there's companies whose stock trade is pins, and they make literally hundreds a year tied into various things. So they can, just as Matt says, it's like a well-oiled machine. So to them, they can knock up something like that probably in an afternoon, send it straight over. All they've got to worry about is can they afford the license or not, and they weigh it up as to how much profit they may or may not make at the end of the year. So I think it depends on the product. Really, the stuff with Forbidden Planet. I mean, some of these things are actually print to order. Some of the T-shirts are print to order, so you can't go into stores and just pick one up.
I've actually been after one of them beanies with the logo on it, and the only way I can't actually buy them from the store, so I have to. They sell them on the secondary market, and like the amount of money that they're selling for is like, there's no way in hell I'm paying
I'll get you one
for a beanie.
It's the only cool thing they put out, Ian.
I'll get you one, pal. Yeah. I'll send it to you.
There you go.
I'm not asking. Yeah. I'm not asking.
No, but here's something I'm just thinking now. Where's Ruby in any of that marketing?
Exactly.
Good point.
Exactly.
Where is she? Because you've just, like you said, off that episode that just aired last week, she is very clearly a big draw, I would argue, for the people that are talking, who are enjoying the show. And
she's going to do very well out of this.
She's the one who they should be marketing right now. I would argue more than Ncuti.
You've got to remember too, they had 3 specials last year. What merchandise did they release to do with, the Star Beast and all that? Where's that yet?
There was supposed to be a cuddly. There was supposed to be a cuddly Beep the Meep. In fact, I think we did see a prototype of it, and it's yet to appear. So whether that's got lost,
I just missed those gold Dalek radio control at that time when we were getting stuff like that. There was decent stuff that you could collect.
So do I.
Yeah.
Is the BBC in charge of the merchandising, Dan, or is it Disney?
They approve. Oh, it won't be not. I mean, Disney probably abroad. Come to think of it, but nothing. Everything will go through BBC licensing. They own the brand. So again, we don't fall into that trap of assuming because Disney, their names on the credits. Disney haven't. Again, so many commentators are running with this idea that Disney now own Doctor Who, and they just don't. When anything to do with licensing will all go through BBC Studios because they own the brand.
So Dan, could you just explain it to me, because I don't know. So basically. What does Disney own? Are they only allowed to distribute it, or
they've got the distribution?
Is that all
they've got distribution rights, and that has bought them a certain amount of editorial say, because it's quite obviously if it's going to go on their platform, of course they're going to have some sort of say. But that's pretty much all it is. It's a distribution deal. Anybody that has a distribution deal. BBC America used to have some say editorial as well, didn't they, Simon, when it was with them?
Do you know? I don't actually know. I have a feeling that they didn't. I think they were. I could be wrong on this. Maybe somebody will know. But no, I think that BBC America at the time. No, they just literally screened it, and they just got handed it. Literally, it flew over the Atlantic, as it were, and they screened it, and that was it. I don't think there was much say so, and we don't know. We still don't know. Ian, the sort of minutiae of this deal that has been done, but it does seem certainly that as Dan says, there is a degree of editorial. We know there is because of what Russell said about the Christmas one. They asked specifically for that extra scene to be put in. Originally, we were supposed to see the 15th Doctor for the very first time running across those rooftops. We weren't supposed to get the stuff in the street with the copper and in the club. It was our very first look at the 15th Doctor was supposed to be him legging it across those rooftops, trying to catch up with Ruby Sunday, which would have arguably have been a far better introduction to the character. 100% agree, Dan.
David Mullins says, 15th Doctor? Why not just the Doctor? Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, actually. Peter Capaldi got very tired of his incarnation being numbered, and I sort of agree. It should just be the Doctor, particularly for the kids who are just finding the show, and particularly after they've gone to all this trouble of marketing it as season 1. It's on the 15th Doctor on this Tardis Zoom print as well, also out next week. These prints cost a fair bit of money, and they're cheap. Again, Matt, it's the same principle. They're banged out cheap as chips because this is just key art that they've knocked up. It's probably done at a very high res, to be fair to them, being dragged out across everything. So offering it up as some sort of fine art print that you can frame, I think it's a little bit weird, a little bit cheap. Trying to sell something as prestige.
Are they putting that up as fine art? That's not a poster.
Well, mate, if you're buying something that comes pre-framed and a limited number, I would argue that suggests something that's of prestige quality.
It depends if it's screen printed. If it's screen printed, then yes. I mean, it's done by hand, so pretty much.
Yeah.
So, it's that depends. But of course, it's awful. But that's what they're trying to.
It's literally they've cut him out. They've done some Photoshop on it, and they put some rainbow colors at the back, and that's it. That's not. No,
it's very poor, and it's the fact that they've used the same image of Gatwa right the way through it. There's absolutely no originality, no variation.
You know what really annoys me is the TARDIS looks so flat in that too,
and it's powered by Rainbow. energy.
And just to finish it off, we've got a range of T-shirts as well there, with whichever of those designs has tickled your fancy.
The middle one. I
actually
like the middle one.
Yeah, I do actually. I agree.
Look,
Sorry,
if I go down Paul Key on a Saturday night wearing "Honey, I'm here for fun," I'm going to end up in hospital.
It's more of a girl shirt.
Just maybe they are going for the gay angle. I mean, I like the middle one. It's just those. Just the windows against the disco rainbow windows that I'm not keen on. But overall, it's about best of. It's about best of the three.
It looks very 80s, doesn't it, Simon?
I'd say more so. I'd say more mid 70s than 80s myself.
And what do you call the design of those T-shirts? Because they have designs of T-shirts.
No idea.
They're not just. Yeah, it's called the muscle design or something like that, because the
muscle fit,
isn't muscle fit, isn't it? That's what it is. Yeah, it looks like muscle fit,
in other words, ones that I can't go into unless I
exactly. Yep. God almighty.
Shah said I had to go so I could put it on the big TV. Oh, we're on Shah's big TV while she chills out there. That's good to know. So yes, has any of this range tickled your fancy? Let us know there in the comments section. Will you be gifting any of it to a loved one? You can even send your greetings with this postcard set, collecting some of that artwork from everywhere. There's even a Goblin King one. Oh, and we can see, she's there, Ian. Well spotted.
There's Ruby. She's in
Who
one.
are you? And that's a definite kind of pride theme to that postcard.
They literally stole the Labyrinth logo for the Goblin King. Did you notice? Notice that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they have. Yeah, well spotted. And you're right. And you're right, Dan, about the Millie Gibson one. Yeah, it is definitely pride. It's all looking very pride-tastic, isn't it? And considering
that's what they're aiming for, Simon. They're aiming for they're aiming for that crowd, Simon. You know.
Well,
there's no mistake about it.
There's one in the top right there that's got the Doctor and Ruby sort of back to back, but again, they're both in silhouette. And as you say, Charlotte, if you can't make out who he is, then who cares who she is?
Who seriously wants a Rock and Janice postcard? Can you see that one? The Rock and Janice grip.
Oh yeah. Well, exactly. So yeah, that does round it all off. This is supposed to be a prestige line of items. They're very, very proud of it. I don't know. Who made it happen, Chris? That's what we want to know. Who made this happen? But maybe we've got it all wrong. Maybe you like this stuff. Maybe there's something that's tickled your fancy and you'd like to give to somebody in your life. You go, give it. Grab for it. Don't know. We're all ears. Whatever you think.
Oh, okay.
Don't ask, we won't tell, because we don't know.
Now that Ian's not watching the show, we're just going to have him asking, what's this for the next 3 months?
We don't know, God. Ian. We don't know either. That's the problem.
Okay.
Who can make sense of any of this? Who knows? Can you out there in the live chat? Something that's very difficult to make any sense of at all is, of course, the ratings, a favourite subject of Doctor Who fans throughout history, generations upon generations now. And fear not, we went pretty deep into it on the last edition of the show. There's not a great deal that's happened since then. I mean, Ncuti Gatwa, the 15th Doctor, as that merchandise reminds us, he's still smiling, but the figures are kind of trickling in. So if you remember, we've got that initial transient figure of the overnight figure, which I believe is a lot less important than it used to be, but is still important. It's worth clocking. So the meter is running on that before, during, and after those broadcasts, aren't they? Because it's been premiered as a streaming thing, not just domestically, but internationally too. So if you look at the consolidated figures, they're adding roughly the same amount there at the consolidated stage. We covered all of that last week. But of course, we've had an extra episode since then. Episode 4 has screened 73 yards. And we have the overnight figure for that now too, to add to these at 2.62 million. And we'll be waiting on the consolidated one for the best part of a week I think. So this did represent a jump, and a good, healthy jump in relation to that initial figure, I feel. I think we all thought that it would probably could go up because reception to Boom had been a bit better. But if you remember on the last show, I said that that Doctor Who could not afford to take another drop. But it was hard to say whether it would or not. Happily, it has somewhat leapt up for 73 yards on the overnights. I'm still not expecting, despite the strong word of mouth, the consolidated figure to be any massive leap other than, say, 1.5 million afterwards. Simon, what do you think? Think it's going to follow the trend?
Yeah, I think it does generally seem to be around about 1.4 million or thereabouts. So it means that you may be just about be touching 4 million again for 73 yards. My speculation is it will fall off for episode 5. I think you'll lose a good chunk, if not all, of those sort of 0.6 million that tuned in following Boom. I think 73 yards will actually be the killer for a lot of people, to be honest.
It depends if people were beguiled or simply frustrated by it, doesn't it?
Of course it does. Of course it does. And I think people generally, I think the viewing public generally will be frustrated. I don't personally feel that it was a good enough episode in its own right to stand up when it didn't make any sense. And the fact that you haven't got your leading man in 99% of it just negates it for me anyway. So I think it will. I think it could well. That's my speculation. I think next week. Do you think it could help? See a drop off for episode 5.
I mean, yeah, you're right. The Doctor not being in it is somewhat of a handicap in some respects, but you could argue that we've had 2 episodes that are properly, at least feel more like Doctor Who, Charlotte, one after the other. Could that signal a bit of a clarion call for people to come back to the brand, that it might be safe to look again or to invest over a longer period? What do you think?
I don't think so personally, because I think because of how the state the brand was in before these episodes, which was unhealthy, and then you had the bad sort of feeling off the press and how they were in interviews. And those 2 openers, I think a lot of people would have looked at those 2 and gone, I'm off. Like I said,
it does seem to be turning back around a little, though. I mean, that last week.
My feeling is, and I could be wrong here, I think people, it's lost a hardcore that will watch whatever audience. It's losing that. It's more people are hearing, oh, that one was a bit better, I'll watch that one. So if they hear, for example, Dot and Bubbles bad or terrible, they'll go, all right, I'll keep
just as quickly stay clear of it all. Yeah, I think you're quite right.
I think the like I said, the hardcore, the people that would pretty much watch week in, week out, whatever, that's been eroded. That's been less and less each week. Because I honestly thought the consolidated might be a tiny bit higher for Boom, because it got a little bit more better word of mouth. I didn't think it would be like millions and millions.
Yeah, like 7 million, yeah.
But I thought it might just about be closer to that 4 million than anything else so far, because it was a bit more down to earth and basics of a story compared to the other 2. And like Simon said, 73 yards, I've seen it. It's just people have either loved it or they've just said it's a load of like torsion, it's rubbish and it doesn't make sense. Like, that's the vibe.
Do you see what I mean though, Charlotte? It has got people talking. It has got people talking about the show.
But it's not got people talking as in, wow, that was everything back to form, I'm going to watch now.
Yeah, it's unmissable again. No, that definitely hasn't happened. You're absolutely right.
So I do think it's...
Daz Blue here suggests in the live chat the ratings jump was down to the FA Cup and people leaving BBC on. You see, that was something that did used to happen 10, certainly 20, 25, 30 years ago. That was the case, that shows would inherit that audience, John. Now, I don't believe that's remotely true. Not when people can channel flip to any one of 100 channels or simply put on their phone. I don't think people do that anymore. But what do you think?
I don't think that's the case now with FA Cup. But I will say, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I've got a feeling that when the consolidateds come in for 73 yards, you'll actually end up seeing a drop, because my thinking is people that were staying up to midnight to watch on iPlayer have now gone, oh, I can't be bothered to watch it on iPlayer now. I'll wait until it goes out on the Saturday. So I think you might see a migration of those people that watched it on the streaming move over to the live broadcast.
Oh, I see.
So that might be why we've seen a slight jump on 73 yards. Could be. Yeah, it could be.
Yeah.
You could be right. You could be right.
Yeah,
the rabbi suggests that the rabbi suggests the big drop in the ratings could come after episode 7, the week of the Bridgerton one. I think it's almost impossible to say what's going to happen with this show. It's definitely not catching fire by any stretch of the imagination.
I fear that it might actually take a further drop after episode 6, Dot and Bubble, because from what we're gathering, that one seems to be the one that actually looks quite bland and quite business as usual, and so that's the one that people, if they have hung around after 73 yards because they were kind of intrigued by it, if Dot and Bubble becomes just your bland, generic, Orphan 55 kind of episode, that's where. So it'll be episode 6 that sees the drop off, if anything, I think.
We'll continue to follow the ratings, the consolidated and the overnights to some extent, week in, week out for the remainder of the season, because that's what Doctor Who fans do. But I have to say, Simon, that the thing, as somebody who sort of collates these figures for us to chew through a little bit, the question that's been on my mind now 3 or 4 weeks in and 4 episodes in is, where are the AAI figures, the Audience Appreciation Index figures?
For a very, very long time. We haven't got one yet.
They are completely missing. We haven't even got the one for Space Babies.
Did we get them out of interest for the episodes last year? And
yes,
we did.
We did. Okay, we got and the Christmas episode.
Yes, and the Christmas. We've had a shooty episode with the AI figures.
And they were strong. I mean, if you remember, during the Jodie Whittaker era, the Audience Appreciation Index figure, which is a really important statistic, is probably more important in many ways than the overnights now. That number during the Jodie Whittaker era was proper in the toilet bowl. But then again, everything was, wasn't it? It was right back up there for the 60th anniversary special. Some of them were getting very high numbers there. So it would be good to know. It would be a good barometer of where the audience that's actually watching this show, the people who have taken the time out, made the time to watch it, what they think of it once they've consumed it. That's the worth of this. So the BBC collects these AI figures from its TV and digital media services by going to 1,900 adults from an online panel to score the programs they've watched or listened to out of 10. And it's how they put it together. It's all divided up into chunks. So the internal guidance that the BBC staff give is that an AI of 85 or over is considered excellent, over 90 is exceptional, 60 or less is poor, and anything less than 55 is very poor. AI scores in the 90s are not very common at all. They tend to be for the more sort of niche programming that could attract smaller numbers of viewers. But Doctor Who, during the new series, the David Tennant and Matt Smith stuff, used to get very, very high figures, and it only gradually sort of fell a little. It sort of got chipped away a little during the Capaldi era, but plummeted during the Jodie Whittaker era to like 60, 61, something like that. But they were right back up for last year. Obviously, things aren't going brilliantly with the ratings. These AAI figures, why are they holding on to them? These aren't compiled by Barb, are they, Simon? So this is the BBC that compile these. They're not publishing them. That has to be because it's bad news.
Mm-hmm. And the rumours are that they're bad. And truth be told, when they're not releasing any, the only conclusion you can come to is that they are bad. Otherwise, why they're not releasing them? It does seem rather odd. You would have thought by now that they would have at least released the first 2 episodes, just to however bad they are. It looks a lot worse not releasing them. It does seem very odd.
It does.
First time this has ever happened.
I don't remember this ever happening before.
How would they feel, though? I mean, it's obvious that they've been lying about certain things about this Doctor Who version, whatever it is, the media or whatever. I mean, they must feel terrible. Russell T must feel terrible with the ratings and everything that he's, because obviously he's put a lot of effort into this version of Doctor Who. So he must be sitting back feeling awful, or don't you think that's the case? Do you still think he thinks it's going to be a winner?
I think he probably feels frustrated.
But it's terrible, Dan. I mean, look at the ratings. It's awful. I mean, you must sit there and you must go, shit, what have I done? Do you know what I mean?
I think it's possibly, I don't know, we're never going to know, but I think it's possibly more likely that he's sitting there thinking that we just don't get it and it's just awful Doctor Who fans who are screwing up his brilliant vision of Doctor Who. I think that's, we're not clever enough to get it. I think that's probably more likely, to be honest.
Well,
they've spent such a long Ian, they've spent such a long time. Particularly Russell, Ian, has been hammering it home, the ambitions for this show to be upscaled, to be global, and it's clearly not delivering. I think that we can look at the way that ratings across TV are going, and yes, they are falling. Our relationship with television is changing, but they have been talking a very good game for a very long period of time. They have to have been hoping for more than 2 point whatever it is on the overnights and less than 5 million consolidated. They have to have been.
Yeah. So, but Dan, do you think so? Basically, he changed the show fundamentally, right? Really, right across the board, right, with everything from the regeneration to what I've seen and stuff like that, and to what I've heard. So do you think he was sitting there going, they're going to accept this? I'm fascinated by this, right? Because he's literally changed it fundamentally, and he's after an audience.
He knew he was pissing off a lot of people, Ian. He actually even stated that.
Well, why would you do that?
He gleefully, he views it as challenging people, doesn't he, Matt? He challenges us to be better, to get over whatever it is that our perceptions of things that mean a lot to him, of things that he wants to push, but they be his own personal taste, the kind of stories he wants, the kind of stories he wants to tell, or indeed social or political ideologies that he wishes to bring to the forefront. Sorry, Ian, what was that?
I was just saying that if it's obvious that it's not working, okay, and it's obvious they've done season 2 as well.
Ian.
Oh, okay.
He's out of step with the general public. That's the crux of this whole matter. He does mean well, but he's out of step.
Matt, I think he cares about his legacy, though. He cares about how he's going to look with his peers in the industry, and if the people in his industry,
he thinks he's untouchable.
Oh yeah, I think before this, I completely agree with you. We said there was this air of arrogance about Russell in that first bit of promotion before we saw it. The way he was talking in interviews, the way he was sort of lauding almost, he could do whatever he wanted. But that's what I think. I think he cares about his legacy and how he's viewed in the industry. And if they can't...
Charlotte, do you think he's feeling bad now, though?
I think he's feeling bad for himself. That's my point. I think he's feeling bad for himself because let's think about this. He, before this, was known as the man who brought Doctor Who back. Yeah. He was seen as the man that got this show that was seen as had its day. It was part of like history almost. And I'm saying how the industry saw it, not the fans. This is how the industry. And this silly little sci-fi show, he brought it back. He made it an absolute powerhouse with Tennant at the height of its power. It was beating everything, nothing could touch it. And then he came back.
It was event television, wasn't it, Charlotte?
Yeah.
But it was never a silly little TV show. The BBC saw it as that, but the fans,
but Ian,
we knew.
I'm talking about industry here. I'm saying he had that title.
The industry thought he was mad. Title. The industry thought he was mad for doing it, didn't they, Charlotte?
And he proved them all wrong, and he actually made it a real big success. And then what's happened when he's come back now? He's got the lowest ratings that even the show's ever had. Shooty's now currently got some of the lowest overnights, and he's got some of the lowest consolidated. That beating Jodie. So that's going to make Russell look bad. That's going to make Russell look bad.
It's a mainstream show, and this is a public. Look, it's not a public failure yet. I think it's, again, we're only halfway through the first season of this, but it's clearly not going the way that they wanted. Obviously, results may vary. There are people out there who are pretty happy with how it's going, reasonably on board. Yeah, as I say, it hasn't caught fire. There could still be time, but I think you're quite right that Russell T Davies, after 25 years at the top with barely a proper failure to his name, this could change absolutely everything. Let us know what you think of that in the comments, whether you're a long-term fan of Russell's work inside and outside of Doctor Who or not.
Hello, my name is Ian Levine, and I'm proud that you're listening and watching the Doctor Who Type 40 podcast here on YouTube.
Yeah, want something good to watch, something absorbing and stimulating and maybe even uncensored. There's extra and exclusive videos up here on the channel right now, Type 40 Extra. So this is just a small example there of some of the recent editions of Type 40 Extra. We've got our chat with Tom there from T-Dwarf Productions. Simon, that was you and I and Tom with Sarah. Do you remember that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Tom's still in the chat. He's busy making a Planet of the Spiders diorama at the moment with about, I think he said he's making about 20 clay spiders to go in this diorama. Incredible.
Beavering away. Sarah and I both unboxed our season 15 Blu-ray box set a few weeks ago now, so you can have that unboxing video too. We don't do those very often, but yeah, it's all good fun. I was taken inside the misshapen planet there with Chris from Black Glove Studio and Lee from Audred Audio. That was brilliant. In fact, I recommend, if you haven't heard the Misshapen Planet episode 1, you really do need to get that in your life. And last but by no means least, Ian Levine was back with Ian Levine Uncensored just a couple of days ago. People have loved that. Ian, have you caught that video, Ian?
I have, actually. I'm halfway through it, tell you the truth, and I was loving every moment of it. He it's taken the plaster off his mouth, isn't he? And he's just gone blah.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care.
Yeah.
He's an original. He's a legend. And this is a conversation exclusive to the Type 40 channel here on YouTube and Rumble. I think we go for a couple of hours there. We don't just get his views about all manner of things in Doctor Who's past, but of course those reconstructions, the artificial intelligence assisted reconstructions that Ian is spearheading right now with a team of people that's really caught the imaginations of so many people out there in the Doctor Who fandom. Those efforts continue, and Ian Levine continues to update us on them whenever he can. There's the Type 40 podcast as well up on the home feed at type40.podbean.com with our review of the church on Ruby Road, and more to come very, very soon, everybody. Very, very soon across all major podcatchers too. Okay, that's where next? Yeah, thank you everybody for all the comments on the Levine video in particular. I know that he's watching, and I think he's commenting where he can as well. So it's all appreciated here at Type 40 Live. Okay, where shall we go next? Yeah, so we have all the ratings and all the merchandise and all this malarkey, Simon. It's all a bit noisy, isn't it? I think we need to chill out. I think we need to chill out for a little while, don't we? And do something a little cozier, would you say?
I think it'd be perfect timing for that, Dan. Perfect.
Doctor Who's history is full of wonder and awe and richness, and it all fills up very nicely the pages of the Doctor Who diary.
Of course.
Yes, indeed. Here we are with the diary. It's the lovely leather bound.
It's back.
It's back. Yeah, we missed it last week, but we're back this week, and we're off on another trip through the time continuum, taking a look at what was happening this week in years gone by. Trust me, there will be absolutely no touching grass for the next 20 minutes or so. But we might be bumping into a few cacti on the way for reasons that will become apparent in a few minutes' time. But definitely no touching grass, please. So lots of episodes happening in the last 7 days of Doctor Who back through the years. If you were Dalek fans, you could be tuning in to The Chase in 1965, or The Evil of the Daleks in 1967. That's one of the stories that I think everybody wants back in the archive. If you're a cyber fan, there was The Wheel in Space happening in 1968. I was, let me think, I was about 1 month old. I was 1 month old at the point that The Wheel in Space was just finishing this week in 1968.
Did you have a microphone up to the TV at 1 month old?
I remember it very well. Don't worry, John. I didn't need to record it. I can remember it. And also for cyber fans, 2006 saw The Age of Steel back on our television screens. So lots for people to enjoy. But I mentioned a couple of minutes ago cacti, and so that's where we're stopping off for to begin with, because we're celebrating the 80th birthday of one Jon Flanigan. Happy birthday, Jon Flanigan, one half of the writing team that wrote Meglos back in. They wrote it in sort of 1979 and it screened in 1980, written along with Andrew McCulloch, and bless them, the pair of them are still with us, and that makes them the earliest surviving Doctor Who writers that we have now.
Are they really?
Yeah, so very, very happy birthday to Jon Flanigan on his 80th birthday. This was the point at which John Nathan Turner and Christopher H. Bidmead were in their stride on formulating sort of their vision of what Doctor Who should be. So Jon Flanigan was sought out by Christopher H. Bidmead as new talent. Unfortunately, John Nathan Turner was not impressed with Meglos. He felt it was a throwback to the previous season that he'd been trying to get away from. And I would agree with him. It's a shame. The design work is just so beautiful. I mean, seeing Tom Baker as a cactus is just one of the most genius things you could ever think to do. But the story itself doesn't really stand up, I don't feel.
That imagery of the Doctor infected like that, it freaks me out as a child, in the same way that seeing the Doctor aged so heavily from the leisure high I've had. So whilst I sort of agree with, like you said, what J&T said about the throwback thing, I think it also making the Doctor a bit more vulnerable, which I think was drastically needed after the Williams era. I think it at least gave us that.
Yeah, it did. And it did give some very memorable imagery. And of course, here we are. He gave us Jacqueline Hill back in a role, in a leading role in Doctor Who. She did sort of regret it. She said afterwards the show had changed so drastically from the show that she had been in that she just sort of didn't feel the connection with it anymore. It obviously wasn't the same show.
Oh, that's a shame.
And she kind of felt that maybe she made a mistake from the point of view that she just shouldn't have been seen on screen. In Doctor Who, as a leading character, she should have stayed pure to Barbara Wright. Bless her. I think.
So was she approached for this role?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. She was approached. She was approached for the role. Yeah, absolutely. John. I mean, this was something John Nathan Turner was sort of championing, because he wanted to drop these sort of little teasers in for Doctor Who fans, the little Easter eggs for Doctor Who fans. And as she felt that she should have just stuck with Barbara Wright, bless her. But it was lovely to see her back.
And I suppose
the best written part
15, 16 years on, Simon, she'd continued acting.
Yeah.
Hadn't she? She'd got a good career behind her. So there was no reason why you wouldn't go back to a middle-aged character actress and get her into a show like Doctor Who, whether she'd been in it before or not. I'm surprised. I'm surprised to hear that. I'm saddened that she felt it was a mistake.
Yeah, but for fans, it was still lovely to see her back. It's so Jon Flanigan, as I say, wrote it. He put in various sort of silly things. Originally, it was called The Last Soul for Thuron, or at least that was one of the working titles for it, which I think is a cracking title. I still love the word Zolfur.
Yeah, I like that.
I think that's one of those words that could only exist in Doctor Who, and it's beautiful. One of the characters is called Brotadak. And in fact, there he is. He's in one of those.
Brotadak.
Bunch on the right, Brotadak, which is an anagram for bad actor, because John Flanigan and Andrew McCulloch assumed that a bad actor would be put in the role, with it being just a bit part.
That's terrible.
They decided to give him the anagram of Brotadak.
Brotadak. It sounds like the kind of sausage you can only get in Germany, where they stick it in a flagon of ale.
It's cruel, isn't it? And they also, John Flanigan had hoped for the part of Grugger, which Grugger he got very annoyed with, because it's mispronounced throughout the whole show. It's mispronounced as Grugger. And hold on, I've got to get this right. Is it mispronounced as Grudger? And they wanted it to be Grugger, or the other way around. I can't remember now. Somebody will tell me in the chat. Anyway, John Flanigan and Andrew Culloch were a bit miffed that it was mispronounced, and they wanted Lee Marvin to play the part.
Lee Marvin. They always aimed high, didn't they?
But they didn't quite manage to get that. And bless them, Flanigan and McCulloch were struggling to find a villain for their script until they saw a dying cactus sitting on their kitchen top, and that was what gave them the inspiration to make the character into a cactus. That's my phone going. Just ignore it. It'll stop in a minute. Sorry, phone.
There's a lot more affection in the live chat here on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. A lot more affection for this story than I was expecting, Simon. I think people after 40 years are kind of fond of these sort of wackier, offbeat stories.
I didn't.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, what happened? I say it wasn't desperately well received, unfortunately. And John Flanigan and Andrew McCulloch were supposed to go on to write another story. That was the intention, that they would have actually opened the next season 19, with a story that would have followed straight on from Legopolis. It was going to be called Project Zeta Sigma. And it would have featured nuclear disarmament, an alien Cold War scenario with the Master sort of orchestrating the whole thing, and that would have been Project Zeta Sigma. But sadly, it was cancelled by Anthony Root, who was the new script editor at that point. With the approval of Barry Letts, in the absence actually of John Nathan Turner, it was just cancelled outright by them, because clearly it hadn't really hit its mark. A couple of very quick interesting facts about Meglos. It's the only story of Classic Who where every cast member appears in every single episode. There you go. That was keeping you awake at night, I know. Wow. Wondering which story it was. It's Meglos. Because
usually somebody gets bumped off in episode 1 of
they all make
Classic Who. In particular, Charlotte, it's somebody, because that was how they'd keep the sort of the tension sustained, wasn't it? By picking people off by some monster or phenomena or another. Somebody would meet a dastardly end.
Yeah, because that's what I find so interesting about Classic, is the Doctor and the companion aren't the centre point a lot of the time of the story. They sort of just stumble. So you have a lot of that setup of your core, like, secondary cast before you even get the Doctor or the companion in the TARDIS. So that was clearly how they did it. And then obviously with New Who, it's gone the opposite. The Doctor and the companion are pretty much centre. Everything else is sort of secondary to them.
I do like that, though. I do like the way they did it in the old days, because the Doctor and the companion just kind of wander into the adventure, don't they? And
yes,
I like knowing the people before they do. So anyway,
and this is very much one of those stories, which is why, as I say, to an extent, John Nathan Turner felt it didn't really work so in the way that he'd hoped, because it was, let's say, something of a throwback. John Flanigan, a couple of final facts on John Flanigan. He also went on to write things like The Royal, Heartbeat, Ballycus Angel, Peak Practice, Boone. He had a really healthy writing career, and also get this. He had a good career as an actor. He was an actor on television as well. There we go. He's in. He was in the Sweeney. He was in Crown Court. Everybody was in Crown Court. Coronation Street, Casualty. What are these shots from, Dan? Do you remember which shows these are from?
One of them is from Man About the House. that's on the right, and the one on the left is from a show an ITV show. I can't remember the name of, from 1971.
Okay,
it was. So it wasn't Callan, but it was something. It was something like that. One of those dank series from way back.
He was.
I know. It was Special Branch.
No, Special Branch. That was an offshoot.
I remember that show.
Yeah, it was an offshoot of something or other, wasn't it? Crown Court, Jack Thursby. Not heard of Crown Court. Wow, that's a throwback to the 70s. Crown Court. It was on every.
Oh yeah.
It was in the afternoons, wasn't it? Kids
it was. It was an afternoon drama.
Yeah.
And just about, Ian Marter was in it. I remember at one point. Just about everybody was in Crown Court.
Was. Yep.
Talking of Ian Marter, Ian Marter was also in the Medusa Touch along with Jon Flanigan. Jon Flanigan also plays a big part in the Medusa Touch, which is a great film. If there's anybody out there that hasn't seen the Medusa Touch, that's my recommendation of the day. Go and watch the Medusa Touch. Anyway,
Richard Burton film.
Birthday to Jon Flanigan.
You're talking about a Richard Burton film, aren't you?
Correct, Richard Burton film. Yeah. It's an absolute classic for anybody that hasn't seen it.
Which one's that one? Is that the one in Bristol? The one with the
it's the one with the plane.
Powers.
Yeah, with the one with the plane.
The one with the plane.
I was way off.
The one with the plane. But we're not telling you any more than that because it would spoil it. Go watch it. Go watch the Medusa Touch. Go. Anyway, say happy birthday to Jon Flanigan. Now, listen. Moving on. Right. To say that I'm about to talk to you about, to say that this is the most bizarre entry ever in the diary is actually a gross misunderstatement for reasons that will become ultimately shockingly evident. Now, at this point, back in 1988, Doctor in the Tardis by the Time Lords was riding high in the charts. Yeah, there we go. Doctor in the Tardis by the time. You see what they did with the name.
Was a hit here too.
Was it really?
Yeah, absolutely. Bloody oath. Oh my God.
It got to, I tell you what, it got to number 2 for you in Australia, Matt. It got to number 2. Yep. So it was a massive hit. It was also top 20 in Belgium, Finland, Ireland, Denmark, Holland, Norway. You can't make this stuff up. And it got to number 1 in the UK just for 1 week only. And there are the Time Lords indeed on top of the. Is that? Yeah, I think that is the top of the pops.
That is on top of the pops. Yeah, the legends.
Is it KLF? Is it the KLF?
It is the KLF, who you can see there on screen at the moment. They are the Time Lords. That's Bill Drummond on the left and Jim Corti on the right, otherwise known as Time Boy and Lord Rock for the sake of this particular show. And indeed, the KLF, you can see this photo alone begins to give you some idea as to why I'm saying that this is the most bizarre entry ever in the diary. Because the KLF, basically the Time Lords were only there for the one record, Doctor in the Tardis. They named themselves along with the Ford Galaxy police car that was just on the screen there. That's on on the cover. Yeah. That was Ford Time Lord. The Ford Galaxy was Ford Time Lord. The Time Lords claimed that the car, Ford Time Lord, had spoken to them, revealing its name as Ford Time Lord and telling them how to write the song. And indeed, Ford Time Lord was interviewed on television. Yes, a 1968 Ford Galaxy police car did get interviewed live on television.
Mental.
The record itself is kind of this mashup of the Doctor Who theme, Rock and Roll by Gary Glitter, who we can't talk about, Blockbuster by The Sweet, Harry Enfield, that's all the Loads of Money stuff, and Genesis of the Daleks, because they sample loads of Genesis of the Daleks from the record. It was panned by critics who claimed it was rancid, excruciating, pure, unadulterated agony, and a record so noxious that a top 10 place can be its own destiny. And it did indeed go to number 1. And as
it was huge.
It was huge. I actually think it's a great piece of art, to tell you the truth, especially the video. I actually think it's really fun, and it's like, and obviously they're copying the Blues Brothers, aren't they, with the car and everything. So I just think it's a lot of fun, and I think it's a great piece of art because KLF, that's what they were about, basically creating things like that. So I don't know.
I would agree with you. I mean, I actually think it's a good record. I must be honest, I find it a good, fun record.
All of their records are fun, and they're all technically fantastic, I think.
Didn't
Yep.
they go
And
to
the beat. Go on, sorry.
I was going to say, didn't they go to a Scottish island, the KLF?
Right. Well, this is where, well, don't jump ahead here, John, because this is where it starts to get really, really weird. They are indeed better known as the KLF or the Justified Ancients of Mumu, if you prefer. They had massive hits with things like 3 a.m. Eternal, Last Train to Trans Central, What Time Is Love, Justified and Ancient, along with was that Dolly Parton on that one, wasn't it?
No,
Tammy Wynette. I bought them all.
That 10 minutes. But this, as I say, is where things do start to get a little bit ugly, because they had a rather controversial appearance at the 1992 Brit Awards. So just after Doctor in the TARDIS, they fired machine gun blanks into the audience, and they dumped a dead sheep into the after show party for no apparently good reason.
What?
Yeah. And this performance then sort of pre-announced the KLF's departure from the music business. They decided that's it. They were out. And in May 1992, so again, just after this Top of the Pops performance, they deleted their entire back catalogue, and they established what they called the K Foundation, which they deliberately intended will put a kick at the backside of the art world. And so when you're quite right, Ian. They are artists, in the broadest sense of the word. So, and this is where it really does get really weird. And yes, John, you know all about this. They staged this performance piece, this art performance piece, at which they burned £1 million of the royalties from Doctor in the TARDIS and their other hits on a Scottish island. They went to Jura, as John says, they went off to Jura, where they previously burnt a Wicker Man, of course they had. and they took in suitcases £1 million that they'd taken out from the bank, as I say, from all of their royalties, and they burnt it on this island. And they filmed it. It was filmed. There is a 3-minute film. There's a 60-minute film that you can, if you search for it on YouTube, you will find it. It actually makes you feel quite sick to the stomach watching them literally burn £1 million. And for anybody that's doubting it, it was real. It was £1 million, and they burned it. And if you search for K Foundation burn £1 million on YouTube, you will find it. If you also go to Wikipedia, you'll read the full unexpurgated details about it, and it is eye-watering in the extreme. They then, believe it or not, they then made a 3-minute film out of they first of all they turned all of the ashes into a brick, as you would do. So the ashes that were left from the burnt remains of this £1 million, they turned into a brick, did a 3-minute static shot of it, and released that as a film, again as an art piece. And the people on Jura are still apparently finding £50 notes, half-burned £50 notes on the island, because when they burned it, so much of it went up the chimney that they ended up with loads of notes, burning notes just floating around the island of Jura. And yeah, that's Doctor in the TARDIS for you. I mean, you literally could not make this stuff up.
Is this now where you tell us that they're actually coming in to direct episodes of season 2 of
They'll probably do a better job.
Well, they prove they can burn £1 million, so they're the right people for the job, aren't they?
Absolutely.
The amount of people who have this record in one format or another in the live chat, it's not just me. You know, I've got the 7-inch, I've got the 12-inch, I think I've even got the cassette single of this. I have also got the remix that nobody talks about.
Yeah, can't talk about that.
But
Is that real? Is that real?
Yeah, it's real.
It is real.
Oh
Yeah, it really is real. They did this. Yeah, they did do a remix with Gary Glitter on.
That wasn't a hit.
And he went on the Christmas Day edition of Top of the Pops to perform it with them as well.
He did.
Ouch.
Yeah, that won't be turning up on a Blu-ray box set anytime soon. I don't
They're
think.
very serious artists, aren't they? And did they?
Oh yeah, deadly serious.
They basically said that they were going to retire and they were going to come back at a certain date or something like that. Is that true?
What they did is they said that it was something. There was a 26-year moratorium on them talking about them burning £1 million. They said we will not discuss this for 26 years. And after the 26 years was up, they did talk about the burning of the £1 million. And certainly Bill Drummond said he regretted it. And he said, every day it gets harder to justify to my kids why I burned £1 million.
There was a documentary on Netflix, I think.
Say again?
Yeah,
there was
a documentary on Netflix, I think, within the last.
There was an omnibus program made about it as well. And I say, if you're fascinated by this, just Google it, or rather go onto YouTube, and there are various videos there on YouTube. And as I say, the Wikipedia entry on it is literally it's eye-watering.
I've just been looking at some of the comments in the live chat from some of the younger fans, and the look on Charlotte's face summed it up as well. This is all fucking mental. Did this really happen? I remember this like it was yesterday. I remember it being number one. I remember how popular this song was. They were mentalists.
Oh, it was absolutely huge, and everybody did love it.
What year did this come out?
88.
88. Yeah, because that was the year that we got Sylvester McCoy's era, and they actually melded the two together, so they would advertise.
Oh, okay, because it was the 25th anniversary year as well. So
when I first heard it, I was quite surprised when the video turned up, and it was this police car racing around an airfield, John, knocking over these Daleks made of cardboard boxes. I'd expected Sylvester McCoy to actually be in the video. I think it was this big song because the song was so popular. I assumed that it was going to be like this really quite big budget thing.
It was all over school at the time. Everybody was playing it, and it was. I always loved the video. I've always thought, it's really cool. It's so
the little Daleks are great with the little feet sticking out the bottom of them.
Yeah, exactly.
If there's anybody out there that hasn't seen it, it really is worth looking up on YouTube.
What came first, though? What came first? Did the Star Trekking come first, or this one come first?
Star Trekking by a couple of years.
Was first,
so they might have taken
1987
their cue from that.
87,
I guess. Yeah.
87.
Next week,
I bought that record.
And the B-side on this, the B-side is particularly good. It's the minimal mix on the B-side, and it's a really, really good version of the theme tune. So give yourselves a treat. It's still, I think it'll turn up on eBay all the time. So it's still.
They were trying to avoid the copyright, weren't they? Because obviously they were trying to avoid copyrighting strike from the BBC and stuff like that. So they did their best, I guess. But
I don't know what happened. To be honest, Ian, I suspect they must have had copyright approval from the BBC because they literally.
There's so much. You wouldn't get away with just sneakily doing that, would you?
No.
I think J&T would have gone for it.
So say again, John.
Do you think J&T would have gone for it, Simon? Because obviously he was all about promoting the show. So
I think he'd have loved it.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. That's why he probably didn't do anything. He's like promoting the show anyway.
That is strange, actually, because I've never once read or seen an interview from, say, Sylvester or Sophie or J&T.
That's interesting.
From then or since saying, "Oh yeah, that record that came out and that was number one." It could have, never mentioned, not once.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? And yet it must have been approved by the BBC because it was on Top of the Pops for a start off, and Radio 1 just played it incessantly. So it was certainly approved by them.
It was on the radio here non-stop all the time, and on TV. All the time.
It would seem that it was probably whoever had the publishing rights to the Doctor Who theme tune, perhaps, or BBC worldwide at the most. It would seem to me that they were probably behind all that, and that J&T probably had absolutely nothing to do with it, because otherwise he would have said.
I suspect J&T had nothing to do with it at all, but he would have almost certainly approved it because everything Doctor Who merchandise-wise came across his desk. And as I say, the BBC must have approved it because it samples Genesis of the Daleks.
Because it wasn't official in the way that the magazine was licensed. It wasn't licensed. It was the Doctor Who theme tune. I think was published by, I can't remember the company that published the theme tune. And they do sample Genesis of the Daleks, but it is just a sampling, and everybody was sampling all sorts of stuff back then. And it was seen as not piracy as such, but it was sort of indulged, like Ian says, as a kind of art form.
Yeah. Well, Jack Thursby asks why an American police car. To be fair, that's one of many questions.
Nobody knows.
Yes, the American police car had been kicking around Jack for quite a while. It wasn't exclusive to Doctor and the Tardis. It had been around for a couple of years, and they just decided to roll it out because it was a police car and Doctor travels around in a police box, so why not? It all kind of makes some sort of bizarre sense in there.
Yes, I'm saying it's linked with the Blues Brothers, isn't it? Because that car was quite.
It's got a link.
Yeah, the thing is though, After watching that video, I actually thought it was a nice piece of art, to tell you the truth. But me personally, when I watched that video, so, you know, with the car and everything, and, you know, although it's a bit cheap and stuff, but I just thought, for me, when I first saw it, I was like, this is art. This is art. You know?
I don't think, in all honesty, Ian, I don't think the KLF ultimately saw it as art. They were trying to do a dance record, and they kind of gave in and churned it out at the best they could, and they weren't very pleased with it, but they knew it was going to be a massive hit. So I think, in all honesty, that's why they then wanted to go to Jura and burn £1 million of the royalties for it, because I think they felt quite ashamed of it, truth be told. I don't think it wasn't the art that they wanted to do. I think you saw more in it than they did, but I loved it too. I still think it's great. And to be honest, I don't know whether anybody else remembers at the time, but it was brilliant to have a Doctor Who record #1 in the charts, especially in the anniversary. It was brilliant. It felt like
in distress. Doctor Who's distress.
Well, yeah, not the songs.
What about that one?
It felt brilliant.
So anyway, so there we are. We're wishing very, very happy birthday to Doctor and the Tardis. I think it was released last week. In 1988, it was riding behind the charts this week. This week was when they were on top of the pops for the first time. So if you go onto YouTube and you see them, they were at number 3, and that was the first appearance on top of the pops. And then I think it was next week that they hit
number one
for just 1 week only.
Didn't the car actually dematerialize at the end?
At the end, it did. Yes, I recall it did. Yeah. Of course, it did.
Fabulous.
And okay then. And moving on now. We're going forward a little bit, but we're going back exactly 20 years. 20 years, because 20 years ago, at the end of May 2004. Billie Piper was being announced as the new companion. This was the first time we knew who the new companion was going to be. Look at that old website. Wow, that's incredible, isn't it? There we go. So this, as I say, this was happening 20 years ago, in 2004. And
it says there in the press release there, Simon, from the BBC, the former singer made her acting debut just last year, so just the previous year in 2003.
That's right. She'd come from her full name, if anybody's interested, is Leanne Paul Piper. Very, very strange name. No wonder she changed it to Billie. She graduated from the Sylvia Young Theatre School. Her first time on television was in an advert for Smash Hits. And then as a result of that, she was offered a pop career at the age of 15, and she became the youngest artist ever to debut at #1 with and we're all going to sing it because we want to. I mean, I just can't even say the name of the song without wanting to burst into song. Because we want to. You just have to sing along at the same time.
Ridiculously catchy song.
Very, very catchy. So that was in it. So say she went straight to #1 at the age of 50. Then she had a couple of other hits. What Honey to the Bee was one, wasn't it? Can't remember the name of the one.
Girlfriend was another one. There's several.
Yeah. So and then obviously after her pop career, she decided she wanted to move away from singing and move back into acting that she loved so much at Sylvia Young Theatre School. So in 2003, she moved to Los Angeles and she took acting lessons. And then it was obviously just after coming back from there that she started to get small roles quite quickly. And then, as I say, at the end of May 2004, she was announced as the new companion in Doctor Who. Here, by the way, here is the issue in which we get to meet Rose. It says on the front, Billie Piper is the Doctor's newest travelling companion. Find out more inside. And you open up and you go to, there we are. You get onto Gallifrey Garden, and there we are. There's the full story all about Billie Piper being cast in the role. So that issue cover dated back in 2004. And that was the first anybody knew about it. That was the first we knew. And I have to be honest, I remember thinking, oh, that's it. They've shot themselves in the foot. What were they thinking? They got a good actor for the Doctor, and then they've gone and cast a pop star for the companion. And my heart sank, and I was proven to be very, very, very wrong, because I still love Billie Piper and Rose to this day.
it was the papers as well, wasn't it, Simon? They were saying a similar thing about,
Yes.
you know, because I think they were doing jokes about, you know, it's gone down to the mediocrity of when it was going to be cancelled. They were linking Paul Daniels to the show, and they went down there. And, you know, I was like you, but yeah, she blew it away, didn't she?
She did blow it away.
Well, I'd seen that Canterbury Tales thing that she'd done the year before, and been really impressed. But I totally forgot about the pop stuff by then. She was playing. Funny enough, she was playing a young girl who hooked up with an older man, played by Dennis Waterman, in that, which obviously very much reflected her personal life at the time.
Yeah,
significant.
Yeah, because as you showed a minute ago, there she famously married Chris Evans. Can't remember how old she was when she married Chris Evans. Don't think it
19.
Yeah, I don't think it lasted too long, did it? It lasted a few years.
Couple of years. Yeah. They went on a 2-year honeymoon where I think the quote is that they spent the entire time pissed.
Yeah. And then came back and pretty much divorced, near as done, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it was interesting because, if nothing else, by casting her in the role, although there was controversy around the casting, it got Doctor Who absolutely in the papers.
Yeah.
And got them talking about the show. It got the public talking about the show, the press talking about it.
Because, Simon, most people had no idea who Chris Eccleston was, did they? But they knew who Billie Piper was.
Yeah, they knew Billie Piper. They knew the name but purely from her pop career. They didn't really know it from an acting career at that point. Whereas you're right, Christopher Eccleston, nobody got a clue. People used to say, "Oh, he was in Shallow Grave," but nobody could remember who he was in Shallow Grave. And he was in 28 Days Later, but nobody could remember who he was in 28 Days Later. So he was very much an unknown quantity. And she
CTC says here, my childhood.
Same here. As soon as you said the date, I was like going back in my head.
So do you remember this at all, Charlotte? Bless you.
I don't. I was too young to be part of the sort of media cycle and the paying attention to the news to do Doctor Who. Yeah. Because, like I said before, my interest started with the adverts, with those trailers, and then I started watching. But because of my age, I didn't know Billie from her pop stuff.
Right.
Because I was like 9, 10 at the time.
I think there was a distance between her pop stuff and Doctor Who.
Yeah, there was. There was.
Her music was gone, but I was quite excited when I heard she was cast.
But I do think Russell was having more my age in mind with her casting, because she was just that right age that she wasn't really young like a child, but she wasn't an adult. She was that perfect in between teenager / young adult. Yeah. That if you're sort of my age at the time, you could really connect with her perfectly.
Well, the other thing I always think, Charlotte, she always reminds me. I always think of Carol Ann Ford being cast as Susan in 1963, and Billie Piper actually feels to me almost like a match cut, if you know what I mean. It feels almost like the same. It almost feels like they went for the same kind of person, if you know what I mean. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I can see links back to Carol Ann Ford.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, she wasn't an adult.
No.
So you couldn't think, oh, she's too old to me to connect to her. Because that's what you think when you're 9, 10.
Yeah.
You see an adult on screen, unless they're meant to be that old, and you don't connect as much. It's how your brain almost is wired a little bit. So, I mean, but she wasn't a little kid. So you didn't feel like they were talking down. So that, like I said, that perfect mythical in between, and especially being a young girl, you could see her sort of having that hoodie, the fact that she was in a shop that was like very much part-time work almost. It wasn't really a serious job. And I can remember the scene of the thing that stuck with me was when she was literally in bed asleep and you hear her mum call her to get up. And that's what, at that age, that's what happened every morning when it was school. You would be in bed and your mum would have to get you out of bed in the morning. So it was just such perfect sort of, but it wasn't just that, her acting was just
I think it was perfect casting. Perfect. And as I say, I always think she's quite unique in the way that Carol Ann Ford is quite unique. She's quite timeless. As you say, Charlotte, she's neither child nor adult. She's somewhere in between. I just thought it was very, very clever casting. on their parts, and very brave casting, because they got a lot of controversy at the time, but it proved everybody wrong, because I think 99% of the world fell in love with her straight away.
A bold swing.
And I think what also worked so well with the pairing of Eccleston is you had quite an innocent-looking young companion, and she had that youthful energy about her as well. And you had that gruff doctor. You had that sort of aged, gruff, serious doctor with her energy. And I just think that was that's when actual using that idea of opposites sort of actually works. Because they gave each other something. And that's what that whole partnership was about, Rose and Eccleston. So I've got lots of good memories of this time. But I also have to go, right? Everybody.
Goodbye.
Say again, Ian.
She was the audience. That's what she was.
Yes.
That's what she was there,
Thank you, as ever. Thank you, as ever, Charlotte, for those memories as well. We'll see you sooner rather than later. In fact, that's a story for another time. Good night, Charlotte. Bye bye.
Good night.
Good night.
So there we go. So 20. Can you believe it was 20 years ago? It's remarkable.
Years.
When you think when you say again.
Story. Did you hear that story about Chris Evans? For her birthday, he got a car. He got her a car, like a sports car.
Of course he did.
And then she said, "I can't drive."
Did you ever hear? Did you ever hear about where they went? Her, Billy, and Gaza. They went up to Scotland. They bought a banger, and the only reason they bought a banger was just so they could drive it into a lake. While they were hammered. That was it.
As you do.
It was full of money.
We've all done it.
But it's remarkable now when I think about it now, because as I say, 20 years ago, back in the classic series, that's the difference between an unearthly child and the 5 Doctors. Wow, that puts it in context. You realise how long ago 20 years is.
I still see it like yesterday, though.
I know, I do,
so
John.
do I.
Yeah, because it's frightening. Because I remember within the next few months, you had that little teaser trailer of the TARDIS dematerialise. It said almost time, but not yet or not quite.
Yes.
And I was like, and then you had the little hand of the Auton. They'd release a picture every week, didn't they?
Yeah. It's as I say, remarkable to think it's so long ago.
Whenever I catch that teaser of just the TARDIS disappearing I think that was first shown on New Year's Day that year, I still get like goosebumps watching that, and yet there's been 13, 14 seasons in between. It's mad.
I know, it's nuts, and we still think of it just as New Who. So you still think of it as just a few years ago. So there you go. Anyway, and so moving on very finally this evening, very finally in the diary, we're going back 28 years to the Paul McGann movie. And we can't possibly talk about the Paul McGann movie because it would take a whole show to talk about the Paul McGann movie, which was being screened on the 27th of May, i.e. 3 days ago, 28 years ago, back in 1996. But what we are remembering, and it would be rude not to remember this, is that last week, sadly, we had lost Jon Pertwee back in 1996. And boy, did this cast a shadow over the return of the Doctor in the form of the TV movie. I just remember this as clearly as if it was yesterday, because I just remember there was so much excitement, so much buzz about the McGann movie next week. And then suddenly it's like, what? How could life be so cruel when we're so excited about the McGann movie that Jon Pertwee's died? It was literally like, no, this is all wrong. This can't be right, because the world's good, because we're getting Doctor Who back for the first time in how many years next week, and now we've now got to deal with the
Doctor
fact that
Who is dead.
Gone. I just remember it was just so shocking. It just felt like, no, this is some sort of cruel joke. It can't be right. You can't have new Doctor Who next week and Jon Pertwee dying this week. It's just
one of the best doctors ever.
Wrong.
One of the best doctors ever.
Yeah, I would agree with you totally.
They spelled Jon Pertwee wrong on the side. If you look at the the menu
on the BBC's own website as well. That's how much care they used to put back then.
And the old logo, the old BBC logo, top left. Wow.
Yeah.
That takes you back, doesn't it? But John Devon Roland Pertwee, to give him his full title. And that's why my ears pricked up actually last week, Dan, when you said that
Sean
Pertwee has the same middle name, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Roland. I was
Roland,
really sad when I heard
he's got
that
the same
news.
middle name as
Really
his
sad.
dad. And
Yeah. I remember them giving him the tribute title on the episode.
Yeah.
And I was quite
yes.
Yeah,
I mean, somehow, that little tribute card that's just at the very beginning of the McGann movie somehow made it all right. It didn't make it all right, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it links the two together, and it kind of acknowledged, okay, we know you're really excited about the movie, but we know that this has also been a bit of a stinger for Doctor Who fans. So I just thought they didn't have to do that.
Did that spoil your enjoyment on the movie, Simon?
Say again.
Did it spoil your enjoyment on the movie?
No, not at all.
Right.
I must be honest.
I viewed them as two separate. I viewed them as two separate events. I mean, when I heard that Jon Pertwee, obviously because he wasn't my Doctor, I started watching it afterwards. It wasn't quite the same for me. But when I heard it announced on the radio, though, I was, because I was discovering his stuff on VHS at the time. And I remember I was at work in an open plan studio at the time, and the radio was situated sort of in this enclave right next to my friend, and I could only sort of half hear it. And so I thought I heard that Jon Pertwee had died. And I just remember going really, really cold. And nobody who worked there with me knew that I was a Doctor Who fan. It hadn't been on for years. And quite frankly, every time I'd ever come out as a Doctor Who fan to anybody, anywhere else, anywhere I'd ever worked or at college, I'd always got the piss ripped out of me. Yeah. So in this workplace, I never said a word about Doctor Who to anybody. And I just remember going very, very cold. And just, even though he wasn't my Doctor, just being really quite sad for the rest of the day, feeling the loss.
Yeah, I definitely remember hearing it on the radio because, of course, it's not pre-internet days, but it's definitely pre-everybody living on the internet days.
We had it on the TV
did generally
here.
get your news from radio or television.
It made the TV here as well, but obviously the bulletins then, everybody's at work or school, you don't see until, because it broke in the middle of the day.
It was a Sunday morning when this happened.
At 10, didn't you? You saw it news at 10.
The evening news.
On a news show,
yeah. It's very sad. I was very sad when I
I was sad because, like you, Ian, I grew up with Jon Pertwee. Okay, Tom Baker was definitely my Doctor, but boy, did I absolutely adore Jon Pertwee. As I say, I saw most of the Jon Pertwee run as a very, very young child and loved it. You know, it's definitely Jon Pertwee that I fell in love with way before Tom Baker. You know, I'd already fallen in love with the show by the time Tom Baker came along. So it wasn't Tom Baker that made me love the show. It was Jon Pertwee, undoubtedly. And it's still whenever I hear his voice, he's got such a distinctive voice. And whenever I hear that voice, it just takes me back to being a sort of a 3, 4, 5-year-old kid falling in love with Doctor Who.
Well, Jon Pertwee,
I remember seeing him at the Longleat celebration. He opened the Longleat celebration. He was the first guest on the stage to do a panel on that the first thing on the Saturday morning, and he just literally burst onto the stage with his arms out, wearing his cape. You know, I am the Doctor. He just held the audience for an hour.
I remember as a kid when I lived in Bristol, and my parents got me and my brother tickets for the Ultimate Adventure at the Bristol Hippodrome, and it was Pertwee who was the Doctor. And I remember being really excited, and I just got into the VHS tapes at the time. But he wasn't a Doctor I grew up with, but he still had that aura around him that this was the Doctor.
Command.
So when I went there, exactly. Yeah, it was great. You know,
I remember.
In all honesty, of all of the actors that have ever played the Doctor, he's the only one that truly sort of embraced the parts to the extent where he always appeared in costume. He just never appeared any conventions right up to the end and not be in costume. He just turned him in costume because that's what he thought was the right thing to do. So he never let the part go.
I remember when I first saw Wurzel Gummidge, when Wurzel Gummidge started here, and I was petrified. And my sister said, "Don't worry, it's Doctor Who." And I didn't realize at first, but then I did, and I was like, "Oh, I love this,"
Yeah.
But Jon Pertwee, right? He's the only person that played a Doctor with command. Do you know what I mean? Okay, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Tom Baker had the comedy, and then he was brilliant because when he wanted to be serious, he could be serious. And you know, Hartnell's Hartnell and Troughton's Troughton. But this guy to me is the best Doctor of that era because he had such a command, even when he was just talking to whatever companion he was.
Yes.
You know, he was kind, and then, you know, when he's talking to the Brigadier, he has that command where, you know what, I know more than you, so shut up. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I liked about him. I love that thing about him.
It's like Claws of Axos. I never get tired of it because he's a miserable. He's got out of bed the wrong side. To that one, and it's great. I love it because he's telling everybody off.
But also, I love the idea that he wanted out, didn't he? His TARDIS didn't work. He didn't like UNIT. He just wanted out. Get me off this planet. That's what he wanted.
And again, it comes back to what we said about so many times. He had absolute gravitas, possibly more than any other actor to play the Doctor. He absolutely, you're right, Ian. He had that weight. He had the gravitas to carry across, and he just had that voice and the charm. And on the one hand, you could see him as something of a sort of an intimidating Doctor because of that gravitas and because of the height and all the rest of it. But somehow, you know, as a kid, I just absolutely fell in love with him. What I'm trying to say is he wasn't always a very warm Doctor. You're right, John. He's grumpy through so much of his stuff, actually.
Yeah.
And yet I just fell in love with him as a kid.
But do you know what, right? The reason why he was so grumpy all the time, because he knew that he was higher than any human on that planet. And to be abandoned on that planet must have weighed a huge weight on him. Do you know what I mean? He needed out. That's why he was grumpy all the time. He didn't want to be stuck. It's like going back in time and getting stuck in the 19th century, knowing about the internet. Do you know what I mean? How would you feel? You know, how would you feel about experiencing this era and then going backwards in time? You know, to some era where ride horses or some nonsense like that. You'd feel crap. And that's how he played it. That's exactly how he played it. I think it's great, personally.
You're right, because when in Terror of the Autons at the end, when they says, "Oh, I think it's Terror of the Autons," where the Master's escaped, and he says, "Actually, I'm quite looking forward to it."
Yes.
So he realizes he's got someone at his intellect that he can compete with now, and he can have a debate with. But it's great.
Yeah.
Yes. And he plays it so straight. This is the thing with Jon Pertwee, of course, because he was a comedy actor. Everybody's expecting him to come in and play it comically, and he doesn't. He plays it apart from Spearhead from Space, which there are comedy moments in. He plays it straight down the line, right the way through, and that's sort of dumbfounded everybody. Exactly. Apart from that, he plays it straight right the way to the end. Right.
20 way, wasn't he? Yeah.
Gone for 28 years, Simon.
Yes,
you would never know it. I've said several times, over and over again, in fact, the classic series feels more alive than ever, and that includes each of the three lead actors who are sadly no longer with us from that time. Their legacy absolutely endures to the point where sometimes you do think that they're still here. That's the power of this man's charisma, that it can live on decades after the end of his natural life.
Yeah, I think so. You know, for a long time I felt that Jon Pertwee was sort of hard done by Doctor Who history, that he was sort of not remembered sufficiently enough. And there seems to have been a reappraisal in recent years of his time on the show, and I guess the Blu-ray box sets have sort of helped that. And he died sadly in his sleep at the age of 76 from a heart attack while he was on holiday in Connecticut. That was just sadly died of a heart attack.
So is he buried in America, or did they bring him back?
No, he was cremated at Putley Vale Crematorium. which is in I think that I'm assuming that's somewhere in London. I don't know. Berkeley Vale. Anybody know where Berkeley Vale is?
In London. It's in London.
Yeah.
Oh, so there's no actual grave. Is that right? So he's.
I don't know. I dare say there will be. There could well be a gravestone somewhere, Matt, to him. But it's certainly not something
I think
that's
there
well
could
known.
be. I believe there's some sort of family plot.
Okay.
Pertwee family.
Yeah. I mean, I would have thought that would make sense.
Isn't there a plaque or something like that, Dan, on the wall?
There is a blue plaque for Pertwee. I can't remember where that one is, though.
No, I can't remember where it is.
Because the Hartnell one's at Riverside. The Troughton one is somewhere else entirely. I think it's at his old school. There is a Pertwee one. I just can't remember where it was. I think it's at... Pertwee's one, I think, is at a film studio, like a British film. Is it an Elstree somewhere? Like?
I think it's an Elstree.
Could well be. You might like to know, Matt, that he requested in his will to have a Wurzel Gummidge model stuck onto the coffin before he was cremated. Bless him. And his last television appearance was on the 21st of April, so literally the day before my birthday, 21st of April 1996. In Surprise, when he appeared again as the Doctor and met a young Doctor Who fan. It was fantastic. Actually, he actually gives him a Dalek, a full-size Dalek.
Wow!
He gave the Doctor Who fan. Well, I'm sure it wasn't him. He presented a full-size. I presume it was a This Planet Earth Dalek to this young fan, and that was his last television appearance as the Doctor. Quite rightly.
Did he ever say which role he preferred?
He preferred Wurzel Gummidge.
Wurzel Gummidge, because
he felt that.
Yeah.
Great performance.
Go on, Dan.
Well, he felt that the Doctor was a role that he shared, and that Wurzel was something that he owned.
Well, he's a comedy actor, and that's where he felt more comfortable in doing comedy. And Wurzel Gummidge was kids and comedy, wasn't it? So
Yeah,
it's great.
And
him saying "morning ladies" to the cows was very funny.
What a fabulous diary, Simon, with something for everybody this time.
So as I say, 28 years since we lost the great man. So we remember him very fondly and sadly.
Thank you for putting all of that together, Simon. And lots of comments in the live chat, as always, for all of that. Some sad memories, yes, but some happy ones as well. Some that make us feel as old as their hills there, John. 20 years since Billy Piper was cast as Rose Tyler. Absolutely mental. And all those years, was that 36 years since I bought Doctor in the TARDIS on whichever format I did. My God. But I am going to go and play that. I'm going to go and play that later on. But not before I thank you again, Simon, for putting all of that together. What a fabulous diary.
All the fun.
And sorry, John. and the golden moments, classic and new, keep on flowing. They're gushing. In fact, I think even though gushing, just like the film I watched on Tuesday night, Matt. But this stuff is absolutely wholesome family fare, where Doctor Who legends flog us all manner of old tat in the Type 40 live Doctor Who ad break. If you had a TARDIS, which of these things would you nip back and buy? We'll see you back here in a couple of minutes.
Beautiful princess, you have freed me from my spell. Now I shall take you as my bride, and we shall live together forever. I also have this fabulous castle set in the...
Well, who did you expect? Snow White? Do you like it?
Do I like it? I love it. Is it really a prime computer?
Do you know about them?
Know about them? I've seen them on Gallifrey in the constellation of Castorberus. Ha-ha! At last, I'm up to date.
Would you like to be introduced?
It's terribly interactive.
Interactive? You mean immediate response?
Immediate.
Okay, Prime. How long's my scarf?
Well, it's not that impressive.
What? In 7 computer languages and 5 protocols?
Protocols?
Yes. That's how it talks to other computers.
It talks to other computers?
Well, of course it does. It's a Prime. You're going to be all right, kid.
Promise you will be there for me. Why? Because you want it. Well, yeah. You don't have the things you need. I know that you want, I know when you think
When I was told that these crackers have 2, 3, up to 6 times more fat than this Ryvita, I naturally asked, how come? The answer's simple. Crackers contain added fats. Ryvita contains only wholemeal rye and a little salt. Ryvita is the name you've come to know and trust as the leading slimming crisp bread. Now, brown Ryvita has a delicious taste, all of its own. So enjoy brown Ryvita.
Oh, Katie Manning went crackers. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought that? This is Type 40 Live, covering all things Doctor Who, both on and off screen, the past, the present, and the future. Okay, yes, I'm here with the panel. We're all back from our little break there. Got Simon Horton, Matt Pott, John Yulden, and the Mega Geek Ian David Diaz back on the bench here too as well. Despite the fact that he's not watching Doctor Who, it's not going to stop him from talking about it. Of course it isn't. We are here in front of a live chat full of our friends, fans, and companions there across YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X. Thank you so much for the comments so far, because it's not all about us. Yeah, so all those golden moments there from the past, you can't be happy forever. Let's come right back up to date, because Doctor Who does continue this coming Friday / Saturday with a 5th new episode. It premieres on Disney Plus the whole world over on Friday the 31st of May, then on BBC iPlayer at midnight Saturday the 1st of June, and eventually getting that screening at 6:50 p.m. on BBC One that evening. I think we can be certain that Susan Twist is going to turn up in there somewhere. Keep your eyes peeled. And the Type 40 podcast will be reviewing the episodes in full in due course. So keep an ear and an eye out for all of that on the home feed at type40.podbean.com, of course. But this episode is a curious beast. It's called Dot and Bubble, and when we did the preview to this, if you remember, Simon, this is the title that had you scratching your head and looking completely perplexed. What on earth are they thinking? So this is the caption that went with it when it was revealed a few weeks ago. I'm actually looking at it differently. I think it's quite enigmatic and a little different. It's not quite Delta and the Bannermen, but it's near enough,
I don't know what to think about it. I mean, as I say, unfortunately, it was the trailer alone that I didn't like 73 Yards, and the trailer alone convinced me I'm kind of done with this version of the show at the moment. Yeah, afraid so. So Dot and Bubble, yeah, it's not working for me as a title. It's certainly not something that's made me think, oh, no, maybe I should still give it a go. No, the trailer and the title... Sorry, I'm out.
It's not working for you. We've got a little bit of a blurb here. It just says that this new episode brings us to a futuristic civilization where not everything is as shiny as it appears. The world of fine times seems happy and harmonious, but an awful terror is preying on the citizens. Can the Doctor and Ruby make them see the truth before it's too late? 6:50 p.m. BBC One for this again this week. I like the fact they're keeping to a regular time, John, but I think 6:50 is still a bit of a weird regular time.
Yeah, it's a bizarre one, and a strange time though to try and grab the kids as well, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
It's a lot younger kids. It's bedtime, isn't it? That's when you you're checking out. But yeah, I don't know. It's also getting closer to a lot of people going out in the evenings as well, if they're interested in it. So again, it's kind of almost advertising to go to streaming rather than watch it live, isn't it? Really, that's my opinion on it.
They're happy to farm as many people in that direction as they possibly can. I often describe Doctor Who, Ian, as an anthology series that's wrapped up in the dressings of an adventure serial because it's got a regular cast, and a lot of, obviously most anthology series don't, do they? They go from episode to episode, telling story to story. But the reason why I mention anthology series is because this one has been likened in all the publicity to Black Mirror. Now, Black Mirror, that might seem like quite a strange thing to do for a family series, because since 2011, 2012-ish, there's been six seasons of this, certainly a couple of specials of Black Mirror. It was conceived by the writer and producer Charlie Brooker, and it explores the darker sides to human nature, I suppose, and modernity and technology and social issues, but definitely framed with that kind of harder sci-fi edge. It's absolutely inspired by the classic anthology shows like The Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, and the UK's own Out of the Unknown. The Brooker has spoken about that several times. It was originally on Channel 4, now it's on Netflix. This is a very successful global show, and the BBC have said in their own publicity that Doctor Who goes a little bit Black Mirror. So despite the fact that you're out, how do you feel about that? Would that not tempt you back in at all? Nope. Harder sci-fi?
Nope.
Because we had the goofy one, didn't we, in Space Babies? Then we had the celebrity historical one. Then we had the high concept one, the Moffat thing, and then we had the spooky one last week. So going back to harder sci-fi, Simon, you think this is like about time, or simply too little, too late?
I would say absolutely we should go back to some hard sci-fi. I tell you why I feel that it is too little too late for me, because I did feel ultimately very, very cheated by 73 Yards, because
that was right up your street in principle, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, I genuinely was expecting to be won over by 73 Yards, because I thought it was going to be a spooky ghost story kind of thing, in a spooky seaside resort with some spooky locals, and I genuinely thought it was going to be a spooky ghost story. And I tell you where I finally lost my faith in Doctor Who was the scene it started to play out really well when they were saying, from the point of view that suddenly she what you mean you damaged the string circle, you've released Mad Jack or whatever it is. And it started to get really spooky, and I thought, wow, you're actually winning me over. And then the comedy delivery man knocks on the door. And that was it. I was out. And so that's why Dot and Bubble, however much it might be hard sci-fi, and it might be, I don't trust that it will be, because I trusted that 73 Yards was going to be a spooky seaside ghost story, and it wasn't. It was,
and it didn't stick the landing. It degenerated into cliche by the sounds of it for you.
Yeah, absolutely, and it just went then off on a tangent that made no sense for the rest of the episode. So I can't.
You could say that cliches and sort of cod are stock trade of Doctor Who, but I know what you mean. I think in this instance, I know.
I genuinely don't have a problem with sort of cliches and cardboard cutouts. I don't have a problem. It's a question of how you do them and how kind of often you do them.
Because Doctor Who has told those kind of spooky stories.
Of course.
Doctor set lots over the years, hasn't it? It hasn't ever really done anything too Black Mirror-esque before, or at least not for a long time. I think elements of Russell T Davies' original Series 1, John, could have, the stuff about Bad Wolf TV being a reflection of how TV was going at the time, reality TV shows and things like that. I think that was Russell T Davies attempting to do that kind of stuff before Brooker would come along a few years later and be free of the constraints of a brand like Doctor Who to go into a topic like that and really blow it open.
Yeah, I agree. I think the difference was in 2005 when that series came out. I think Russell T Davies was ahead of the curve, and I think he was writing stuff that was ahead of its time. Now, I think they're just looking around and they're trying to imitate a lot of things that are already out now or have been out in the last few years. And I've said it before, Doctor Who was always good at setting the trend. It doesn't feel like it sets the trend anymore. It feels like, oh, we'll put some of this in because that might get people in to watch it.
Well, also, as exciting as that sounds, Black Mirror has also been on. It's just struck me. 2011. That's 13 years ago. This is a long-running show in itself now. So, is this still when a new series of Black Mirror premieres? It does get people's attention still, but probably less. I think that's ebbing away too. I think it's a veteran show itself.
Yeah. I would also say I kind of concur with Simon really on the 73 yards. When I watched it, I actually thought I'll give it a try, and I was enjoying it when they're in the pub. Yeah. And then as soon as it effectively left and went away from there, that location, I thought, oh no, it's like you said, it's going downhill. And there were so many plot holes that I just kind of made notes of. And I was like, yes, I know there's been plot holes in Doctor Who before, but then I think it's RTD yesterday said, oh, I'm not ever going to tell you what she said. And for me, that's just a cop-out.
That's complete cop-out. It's laziness. He doesn't know what she said because whatever she said couldn't have made sense to what happened in the episode. And that's why I've got no faith in sort of Dot and Bubble now either.
And that's Simon, you're right on that. And what he said about 73 yards, was it him who said, oh, it's probably one of the best things I've ever written? Yeah.
No, he said it was the best thing.
It was the best thing.
Incredibly.
Yeah. All hail the great one. And then the next episode, he's kind of saying, oh, it's taken 15 years in the making, hasn't he, essentially? Because he said that they didn't have the...
Yeah, apparently this is an idea that he talked about with Stephen Moffat.
Oh, really?
Once over lunch, because Moffat kept... It turns out that Moffat kept asking Russell T Davies back to write on the show every season. He'd offer him a slot. Have you got any ideas? But Davies was always a little too busy, and this was an idea that he's had cooking for all that time. I do wonder if all of these episodes aren't ideas that he's had cooking for quite a while. I suppose we'll probably know in the fullness of time, because obviously that was around the time that Black Mirror with Charlie Brooker's series was originally kicking off there. So we've got a quote here from Russell T Davies, and he says, I'm a huge fan of Charlie Brooker. He's immensely brilliant, but there's a little more freedom and Doctor Who madness in Dot and Bubble. So although it's Black Mirror-like, it's more like Doctor Who. I hoot a lot when I watch it. You see, I'm all down for that until he says I hoot a lot when I watch it. I think, oh God.
That worries you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I don't want to be hooting at Doctor Who, is the truth.
What Russell finds amusing... what Russell finds amusing, increasingly starting to leave me cold.
Well, you know, the other thing, Dan, and it does come back to what I've said so many times about his hyperbole, because as I recall, we were told, again, just dipping back into 73 yards for a second, didn't he say, you won't believe the monster that we've got? You have to see it to believe the monster that we've got in 73 yards. I think I'm right in sort of paraphrasing him along those lines. And so, unfortunately, I've been fed too, because again, you watch 73 yards and there is no monster in it, and I don't know what I'm supposed to see. Can I tempt you
to review 73 yards with me? How many weeks have I got?
100%. I will come on and review 73 yards, because I do feel quite strongly about it, because it is the pivotal point at which I leave Doctor Who now. And so finally, his hyperbole, Davis's hyperbole, has just finally defeated me. I don't believe a word that he says. It literally is all hot air. He does open his mouth and words just come out, but they don't mean anything. And so I can't. Is there a comparison with Black Mirror? I don't know. Probably not. He just says stuff. He just says stuff.
What I don't understand is if you're gonna put something together that's Black Mirror like, even if it's still got lots of Doctor Who in it. But Charlie Brooker is a Doctor Who fan. Why not? It's the whole thing of, you've got the Target book covers. I mean, obviously I know they can't now, but with the Target book covers, why get people to emulate Chris Achilleos' style when you could just get Chris to do it? And it's the same with this. Why not get Charlie Brooker to write it? Turns out they did go to Charlie Brooker. He was approached. So, they asked him to do Doctor Who years ago. He recently said to The Independent, I was approached for Doctor Who and I just didn't have time. It was really annoying. I was really busy and they haven't asked me again since. It was a bit like the Home Office asking you to do something. So he was very flattered by this. They asked him around 2015, 2016 time. So it was during the Moffat era, again, at the height of when Black Mirror was really, really popular. But I do like this quote. I know he's a fan. He speaks very affectionately about Doctor Who, classic and new Doctor Who. But why? I haven't seen anything by Charlie Brooker in a while. I know there's another Black Mirror series coming next year. But I'm sure that he could have been receptive at some point. Maybe eventually. I don't know if the series lasts long enough. It just seems like a writer who, maybe he'll be past his peak soon. But it seems criminal that he's not contributed to Doctor Who. What do you think, Matt?
Look, I haven't got much to say on this because I haven't seen Black Mirror. Never watched it.
I must be honest, I haven't either, Matt. I've never seen it.
Simon, you love some of them.
I've got to watch
I was never keen on 73 Yards, and that sort of, I'm very much like Simon. I found it very nonsensical and utter waste of my time. And this one, because I try to avoid the trailers at the end. So because I'm trying to not enjoy them, but I'm just trying to be base.
You're trying to be objective about it and come to them fresh in effect.
And I'm just trying to keep it like okay, this is a show. Let's put it on its merits.
That's the way to do it.
But so far, each one makes me just really, really disappointed.
Yeah.
And I will watch the rest of this season, and I will watch this episode when it first broadcasts. So I'm not also taking in what the quote.
This is what I like about you, though, Matt. You always go. When you decide you're going to do something, you do it with the best heart that you can muster. It turns out there may be something in this for you come Friday, Saturday. After all, how about A Pretty Girl? This is Cali Cook.
Oh God, I thought you were going to say that vagina monster, whatever that is.
This is Cali Cook. I'm sure, Matt, that you'll be as troubled as I was to find out after some research that this big guest star of this upcoming episode of Doctor Who, I'm sad to inform you, is perfectly normal. She doesn't identify as an iceberg lettuce. She's not given a single interview raging at people for voting Brexit or owning four-wheel drives. Just seems like a really nice, down-to-earth, talented woman. She's 32 years old and she comes from Leicestershire.
Is she a real woman?
Well, if she does, I've also looked into that. If she does own a penis, it's attached to somebody else. So I can tell you that. I can tell you that too. Now, obviously, this represents a huge oversight on the part of casting director Andy Pryor and showrunner Russell T Davies. I've no doubt that they'll be hauled over the coals for that. But Cali Cook is a relative newcomer to TV acting. She first appeared on screens in 2016, appearing in What Else But Doctors. Of course, she did. But after that, went into various Sky dramas and the Netflix drama The Stranger from a couple of years ago. She played Jennifer Saunders' daughter in that. It was really quite a big show, as I understand. I've never seen it.
Yeah.
So yeah, was it okay? Was it, Ian? I remember people talking about it a lot back then.
And Jennifer Saunders played a straight part, and she was quite good in it as well. Yeah, I remember it. Very good.
Yeah, I've got a little. This is Cali with Jennifer Saunders. There, Jennifer Saunders playing a straight role, which you generally
I remember this now. I've forgotten this. I do remember. Yeah, she's good.
Been only one series.
It's based on a book. Harlan Coben, the author, he's kind of like that guy who writes the Jack Reacher books. He's just very best-selling author, like piles and piles of books.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as long as
she was also. She was also in, she doesn't live too far away from Shaw, come to think of it. So, she was also in this BBC show called Henpocalypse, which looks a little more cringy. This is the kind of show that are made by people who can't accept that Shaun of the Dead was made over 20 years ago. It's that kind of thing, isn't it?
I have to say, this is horrific.
Do you remember the sci-fi shows they used to do, like Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus?
Yes.
And stuff like that. It looks like that kind of production.
Yes, apart from that, I think that all the signs are pretty good for Cali Cook as this sort of main guest star of the show. She plays this lead role. I can't quite work out. There are previews out to this already. I'm sure people know a lot more about the plot than I do. I don't read ahead. I like to be surprised by the show as I can. But it does seem that the characters are quite atomized and living in this sort of social media style bubble world. And the character that she's playing is described as an influencer from the kind of near future. And I think she's kind of driving the plot. I don't think that necessarily means that the Doctor and Ruby aren't in it, but I get the impression that everybody's kind of separated. And so she does bring to mind, I wonder if they're going for a new Sally Sparrow character. It's the breakout character from Blink back in 2007, if you remember, because people still talk about that character now, how, she should have had her own series, should have been back in it again, all that kind of thing.
Carrie Mulligan. Oh, my God, yes.
And Carrie Mulligan was at a point in her career then, Matt, that Cali Cook is kind of at now. So it does make you wonder if they're trying to
be a companion. I really
Well, it makes you wonder, are they trying to catch lightning twice with this?
Bloody better than Donna. Well,
you can see that they're trying to imitate one of the stories that Charlie Brooker had created for Black Mirror. It's very similar. So
is it?
Yeah.
So it is. It is beginning to look Black Mirror.
You know what? Now that you've mentioned that, doesn't that one that you're talking about, Ian, have Dallas Howard in it? She reminds me so much of Dallas Howard.
Oh yeah,
that's who I was thinking of.
Same hairstyle. She had the same hairstyle as well.
Yeah, and she looks very similar, extremely similar.
Yeah.
I will say one thing for the episode, though. I'm going to call it now. I bet he's going to announce that these creatures are something like distant relatives of tractators. I can see it. I can see him. I can see him putting. You
mean these creatures, though, don't you? So we see them stalking various people. There was lots of pictures of these creatures, like early forms, when they're out on location making this thing. Now we get a good proper look at them in these pictures. They're called. This is where it gets interesting. I think Simon, you might find this interesting. We've got the design drawings here. They're called the gastronauts.
Okay.
So you see, whilst John is along the right lines there with sort of 80s Doctor Who type monsters,
the whole show gives you gastro.
But what immediately springs to mind for me are actually the gastropods from the Twin Dilemma.
That's exactly what I thought. It's the gastropods, isn't it, from the Twin Dilemma, in effect?
Because for a little while during the mid 80s, Doctor Who went kind of like gelatinous creature crazy.
Yeah, lots of green goo, lots of green gunge.
So they're going to be referenced then, aren't they? There's going to be a reference in there somewhere.
I must be honest, like the name gastronauts just sort of, I don't know, it worries me.
It sounds like medication you take for indigestion or something.
Yes, for wind, basically, Dan, for wind.
Yeah, I was trying to be polite, which is a rare thing for me.
I don't know. It just sounds a bit cheesy. It sounds a bit... I wonder whether it's going to be sort of kind of postmodern. I wonder whether I don't know. I wonder whether they're not actually going to be called gastronauts, but there we go.
With Black Mirror always had something intelligent to say about society. In every story they did, they had something like that one that Matt mentioned with Bryce Harrod Davis. They had something really nice to say about our society. Right at the very end, it happens when they actually say something. And you go, that's what it was all about. So if he's trying to imitate Charlie Brooker here, who knows?
But the problem is, Ian, it's just slightly worrying as to what statement he's going to be making about society. If that's what he's doing.
Who's he going to be referencing as the gastronauts? I wonder.
Oh well,
we'll have to wait and see. I like Matthew Pounder in the live chat says this is another silly monster name. This is Doctor Who. I don't mind silly monster names. It's fine.
No, I would agree. We really can't complain about silly monster names, and we've had things like gastropods, like tractators, so we can't. But that's why I would have thought modern Doctor Who could come up with something a little bit cleverer than just going for something like gastronauts. It sounds a little bit dated. It sounds like classic Who, and I kind of expect new Who to be, a little bit cleverer than that.
It does feel, Simon, like they've written the script and then they've gone the final day before it's got to go in. They go, "Oh, we need a name.
We need a name, yeah.
Gastronaut."
Oh, yeah, that'll do. Yeah, it seems a bit cheap, and that's why I wonder whether it's ultimately going to prove to be sort of postmodern, whether it's going to be ironic. I wonder whether the name is going to be ironic in some way and clever. Don't know.
Because they sound like gastropods, but you're quite right, John. They do look more like tractators, don't they, from the '84 classic Frontios?
A bit like the Love Child, aren't they? The tractators and the gastropods.
Well, let's hope we don't have that scene.
But it's interesting that we've got apart from the bogeyman in Space Babies, this is the first monster we've had, isn't it?
Proper monster.
But they've been copying other episodes, little sequences here and there, so I've been told. Right, so this one might be the one where she's front and center, just like Sparrow was in that wonderful episode.
Possibly.
And then Ncuti and Millie is in it, in sections, in segments to help her.
I
he keeps going backwards, doesn't he? So. Yeah,
I think they're on the screen throughout the episode.
I think you're right, John. I can see them just being those floating little floating screen.
Because that's how they incorporated the Doctor into Blink, wasn't it? He was on the screen, on excerpts, on DVDs and things. I think that's perfectly fine. It is very, very Black Mirror. I wouldn't describe it as high concept, but it's novel. I think people would kind of respond to that. Doctor Who hasn't it depends on how it's balanced, I think, and whether we connect with the character that Cali Cook's going to be playing, I suppose.
It does, but it still seems odd if it is sort of light on the Doctor and Ruby.
Again.
I know, I realise this is speculation, we don't know, but if it is correct, it just seems a bit odd. I don't understand why there's only 8 episodes and 2 of them are light on the Doctor and one of them is well, no, neither do I, but it just it's not the way forward for your show, that's for sure. It's not showing confidence in your leading stars. It just seems a bit odd to me. It feels like it's going a different direction.
We heard reports about it last year that Ncuti Gatwa was actually still filming the final season of Sex Education as he was filming this. It turns out that was true, and that's why he wasn't in 73 Yards.
But that's not
good.
For this. That's really
but with this, I know I come unstuck last week when I said last week I doubted last week's was a Dr. Light episode because I thought, well, why would they make a Dr. Light episode in a run? With this, I think that this has been created to be a novel concept. I suspect that that it's going to be this other character that will drive the actual plot, but that the Doctor and Ruby will still feature prominently in it.
Maybe. But there might be. I mean, there might do something.
The Doctor
really...
couldn't be. He couldn't be in this less than he was in 73 Yards.
Oh my God! I mean, when you think the Doctor was David Tennant was in Blink more than Ncuti Gatwa was in 73 Yards. I mean, he literally what is Ncuti in it? What is about a minute and a half in total? 2 minutes maybe.
Well, he was enough in there, enough to say honey, that was for sure.
Yeah.
That was that. Josh H says here, John, an actual monster in an episode. We don't get many these days. They need to bring the monsters, don't they, to get the kids sort of frightened before bedtime.
I mean, again, when you're talking about, and they do look at these, they look at the toy merchandise line. They look at toy merchandise line. They've got Space Babies to sell at the moment, and what else have they got to sell? Old Millie Ruby as a toy, and this monster. That's about it.
She could be my toy anytime.
I'd be a bit worried about
what old Millie?
Not ancient Millie, not Titanic old lady Millie. No, I'm talking about the wine-aunt cat lady, 42-year-old Millie in the actual episode. I'd be a bit more down for that.
Just stop there now, Dan. Just
We
stop.
don't know what she said, don't we? Just fancy a drink.
It's been 73 yards.
Oh God!
Yeah, I know. I thought that was sign language or something. I thought they were going.
What am I doing? I'm talking to myself from the future. I'm telling myself to be careful.
I was like, what the hell?
Darren Bradley is in the live chat. Hi, Darren. Good to see you, mate. Says the chat has turned into a gastro podcast. And Melanie Weston asks,
Brilliant.
what episode of Black Mirror is worth watching? Is reference to this? No episode in particular. You can't really go wrong with Black Mirror. None of them connect with one another, really. I think there's a couple that are sequels to one another, years and years apart, but you can pretty much dive in, read the little blurbs on Netflix, I think they're on, and like the one sentence things, and just see if you fancy that, and then get back to us and tell us.
Not all of them are. Yeah,
tell us what you think.
Good. Not all of them are good. A majority of them are good though. But
they're all. The thing is, what they all are is that they're all engaging in a way that Doctor Who should be. Where they should engage you, hold your attention. If you watch the thing, you've been talking about 73 yards. If you watch the thing afterwards and you think, oh God, it held my attention, but ultimately took me nowhere, or I feel deflated by that. At least it's held your attention for the full episode. And that's something that I feel that Black Mirror never fails to do, and something that Doctor Who used to never fail to do as well, Ian. You know what I mean? I want it to get back there. I want it to get back there. Cinnamon Toast Crunch says they should have scheduled it better, in my view. Oh, you mean the scheduling of the availability of the actors? I agree on the surface. I can't help but agree with that. I think employing a new star and yet you find out that he's not free for 3 weeks. I think, what? But
they obviously, that's how much confidence they had in him,
Well, no,
I don't think it's to do with that at all.
Yeah, it's to do with
the
turn. It's to do with the turn of the tax year, especially when it comes to business in America and in England. So they have to get certain things finished or made between this bit and this bit. So you know what I mean. It's all to do with money and business stuff like that. That's why sometimes directors and producers they kind of get a short end of the stick and they just have to do what they can within the time that they've got. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there you go.
I like the look. I like the aesthetic of this episode. I quite like these creatures. And I like that kind of 1960s, like Gwen Stacy look that Melanie Weston mentions there in the live chat. It reminds me of that show, The Good Place, with Ted Danson and Kristen. I can't remember her second name. The girl out of Veronica Mars.
Yes.
Fabulous show. Really funny. So I like that kind of thing. And I think this monster does look like a good silly stroke scary Doctor Who monster that's been realised with a mixture, Simon, of prosthetics and of CGI, which I think is what we've been crying out for. And you could say that these shots of its gaping jaw.
You have to say that.
Oh God, yeah. But you could say this harkens back 50 years or so as well. This is like a vintage Doctor Who monster in some respects. We've seen sillier, is what I'm basically saying. We've seen a lot sillier than this.
That's lovely. What are you talking about?
Bubble wrap. Come on, leave the bubble wrap alone.
No, it's not bubble wrap. It's not.
It is bubble wrap.
It's not. I love this monster. Love it.
No, I'm honest. I think that monster looks decent, and it almost makes me wish that I hadn't bailed. Not quite, but almost. But
let's not get carried away.
Not that good.
Yes, so
quite good enough.
Who knows? Will this be the next Blink? Will the gastronauts become the next weeping angels, the farting slugs, or whatever they're going to be? I don't know. Or could it all get a little bit too much for people? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see when Dot and Bubble premieres this weekend. So yeah, that's on. Yeah, Disney Plus gets it at a reasonable bloody hour. Good Lord. Disney Plus gets it at a reasonable hour. BBC One gets it 6:50 p.m. on the Saturday, but it's up on the iPlayer. Of course, it is from midnight, as they all have been on Friday / Saturday there. So, Dot and Bubble, let us know what you think of that in the comments section. All of this nonsense that we've been coming out with, are you stimulated? Are you all out, all in, somewhere in between? You're a bit like Matt. You think, well, I've done half the season now. I may as well do the rest. I don't think there are any wrong answers. Any wrong answers to that? We're all Doctor Who fans. We'll all get it through together. And the cosmic joyride continues, for better or for worse, for the next 3 or 4 Saturdays. I think with Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor and Millie Gibson as Ruby Sunday. I like the fact we're getting a classic-esque Doctor Who monster back. I think better late than never. I don't know what's coming for the rest of the season, and who needs original ideas, Malcolm? That's how I look at it. Who needs all that? Let us know what you think. As always, there in the live chat.
This is Philip Roy playing the Doctor.
And I'm Mandy Rose and I play Jenny.
For the Doctor Who fan film, Doctor Who Meets the Scorpion, this is the Type 40 podcast.
Just one more thing. I think we've got 10 minutes, haven't we? For rounding things off, Ian, with a last look at the view screen, it's our regular eye up your temporal schism in search of some of the prettiest pictures from out there in the Whoniverse. Our regular eye across the fan art and crafty world, whether it's traditional art or digital art. Could be it's cosplay. If you want to dress up as Peter Capaldi and hang around outside your local Primark, who are we to stop you? Maybe you're a cosplayer, maybe you're a crafter as well. You create stuff like this. We'd like to get it up on the view screen to show the Whoniverse, or at least our corner of it here at Type 40 Live. So get in touch with us. Send us their way or them our way. It works both ways, so we're not fussed which way it is. I don't know if I should bring this up now after the last few minutes, trying to get past it. But if you didn't enjoy the episode, maybe you will like this bit of fan art from Bandar Lagas. This is their take on 73 Yards, John.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, really good.
Beautifully done.
I'm not going back to watch the episode, but yeah, this is really good.
Look at this for 40 odd minutes instead.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it is great.
Yeah, it's kind of what that's kind of what the episode should be. I mean, this is the thing about the episode. It had some beautiful imagery, and of which they have captured this perfectly here. It's just that it was the scripts that for me that let it down. The imagery was excellent throughout.
Yeah.
I did wonder, looking at this piece of fan art at first, I wondered if that was the Hartnell Doctor there on the hill, though. That was the only thing.
Oh, you're right. Again, I can't unsee that now.
Nice drawing, says YW. Matthew Pounder notes that it's an indie comic style. Yeah, I agree. I think it's got a touch of the Disney about it as well, with the big sort of frozen eyes.
Nice. Yeah, it's good. It's nice. Very good. And I like the fact it's in black and white.
Crimpling de Bloom says it's great. It's as if it was a spooky animation.
As I say, it's captured the best part of the episode, which is kind of the intrigue, the curiosity, the spooky imagery. Although, of course, it was done by the Woman in Black about 30 years ago. But there we go. We'll let that one off. Again,
it's really
nothing
good.
wrong with a bit of plagiarism.
It's really nice.
The only tree in the village, says Peter Harrington. Nice, says Ezra Goldstein. They should have given the woman glowing white eyes. I think they have. I could go a little bit closer. You can see that the eyes are indeed glowing.
I
think they actually meant the episode.
Means in the episode, yeah.
I did say to someone the other day when I watched the episode, I didn't watch it with my glasses on, and from a distance at the beginning, I thought it was Brian May in the distance. You know, with the hair.
Like when he was on top of Buckingham Palace playing the guitar. That kind of thing.
I thought he was looking for his wife.
Is that the red special?
Yeah,
I do like the color that guy used. You know, and right across the board, it just goes to show that there's something
beautiful, isn't it?
Horrible
Yeah, it's lovely.
Yeah,
I could bore you with exactly which Pantone colours those are, but we haven't got time. But if you want to, go and find Bandar Lagas and you tell them how much you love their art. There's more of it up on X, and tell them that Type 40 sent you as well.
Wow.
Next up, there's this piece, this amazing Genesis of the Daleks set of Daleks from Phil Shaw. This is some of the best sort of CGI created Dalek work I've ever seen, Simon. Look at the detail on this.
That is just absolutely gorgeous. I love that. I mean, that's almost photographic, isn't it? It's just superb piece
Look at the chips in the paintwork as well.
It reminds me of the covers you got on the Dalek model sets. Do you remember early 90s?
Yes.
Yeah.
It just makes it's a really cool piece of artwork because it just reminds you of why you love Daleks, why Daleks are just such a cool design. It's one of those pieces of artwork that just makes Daleks look cool. Love that. And I love the background as well. It is like something out of Genesis of the Daleks. You're quite right.
Yeah. Directed by David Maloney in a disused power station somewhere in 1976. That's wonderful, says Jack Thursby. Cinnamon Toast Crunch says, looks like a real photo. Phil Shaw, if you're watching out there, this one's for you. Hello, I can't believe you guys are still on, says Will Hadcroft. Hiya, Will. Happy to have you back, mate.
Well, you can't believe we're still on either.
Looks like a photo, seriously, says Robert Payne. Everything is better with chips, says Jack Thursby too. And even Stephen Braddock, who's been on a bit of a downer tonight, haven't you, Stephen? Even he says it's fantastic. And DeMorpin says that's brilliant. So this is going down very, very well, Phil. Congratulations there. And finally, we've got this one. I couldn't leave this one behind. It's the latest piece from Oliver Arkenstall-Jones. Who, if you remember now, Oliver creates work based on classic Doctor Who stories mostly. And he does them as old-style movie posters, doesn't he, from sort of like the late 60s, early 70s period, Simon. If you love the old horror movies, Hammer in particular, but the Tigan films, all that, he tries to capture that feel, doesn't he?
Yes, he does. He does. And I always love his work. So what have we got to look at?
You're wondering which story it is this time, aren't you?
I'm trying to think which one he hasn't done.
It's the Patrick Troughton story.
Okay.
The Faceless Ones.
Oh my God, that's incredible.
Right.
That's superb.
Isn't it?
Yes,
coming to a cinema near you.
Yeah. That is,
Vision.
Yeah.
That is definitely one of his best. Isn't that amazing? I've never sort of seen the Faceless Ones as being a kind of an exploitation B movie before, but it is when you think about it. It absolutely is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Indescribable Horrors from a Dead Planet. It just is. It's a 50s B movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
He's Indescribable Horrors from a Dead Planet, Ian. Does that sell it for you?
Oh, definitely. My bum's in the cinema as we speak.
Yeah.
I definitely want to see that one.
And it really is so much better than the actual story, that is. It's way better.
I was disappointed by the story.
Yeah.
Way better.
But Troughton's always good.
I genuinely think that's one of his best. I think that's one of his
always
best.
good as the Doctor.
Yeah.
Troughton's always good. So
a masterpiece, says Mark Milford. Beautiful, says Peter Harrington. Oh, wow, amazing, says YW. Jack Thursby says that's freaking awesome. Even by Oliver standards, this is particularly good. If you've never seen or heard a version of this story, it'll certainly make you want to go rushing to the CD, the Blu-ray, or the DVD, I should say. Fabulous, Crimpling Doubloon. Just lots of that kind of thing coming in the live chat here across YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and X.
Yeah, sadly, when you, as I say, if you do go rushing for the DVD, it doesn't look like this. It really doesn't.
Absolutely amazing 50s B movie style, really excellent, and lots of that kind of thing as well. Jack Thursby wants a poster of this. Now Oliver has got his own Etsy store where I don't know how he decides which posters to offer up as actual posters that you can buy, but several of them are up there on the shop. I think he runs out of stock sometimes, but there's regular restocks and reprints and things like that. So yeah, please head over to his social medias. He's certainly on X. I think he's on Instagram as well. Go and take a look, and all the links to his website and his Etsy store are there too.
Can I ask a question? So, is he selling these posters?
Yes.
Brilliant.
Is he allowed to?
Good question. I believe so.
Why not? I don't think. I dare
There's
say.
nothing in there that says Doctor Who, is there?
No, he's not using Doctor Who or Tardis anywhere. I mean, he might start to run into sticky territory if, for example, he was to use images of Daleks or police boxes. But
or even the word Doctor Who, the words Doctor Who are never on his artwork.
Correct. Or the word TARDIS or the word Dalek. I guess you should be careful.
Yeah, it's good. It's the faceless ones.
I mean, theoretically, I guess all of it could be copyrighted design work-wise, but I think you're all right. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely
to be
glorious.
fair, though, you can actually have images of. I did a picture of Michael Jackson once and put it up for T-shirts and that, and they took it down because they said that it was an image copyright.
Infringing copyright.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's interesting. Jack Thursby's right. Etsy is full of Doctor Who fan work. It is. It amazes me actually. Sometimes some of the Doctor Who artwork on there is literally just complete rip-offs. This is not a rip-off. It's a piece of original work. Whereas some of the stuff on Etsy, it's literally just. It's just.
Do you know what, Simon? Right. If I was the BBC, which I am not. And I see this stuff on the internet, I would embrace all this stuff and actually spend a bit of money and open up like for one day or for a week, the art of fans and just have like this big gallery showing great fan art and stuff.
Yeah, I
because
agree.
that would bring attention to Doctor Who as well. I don't understand why they're not doing this. It's such a good thing. Well, anyway, I digress.
They only seem to latch on to certain portions of the Doctor Who fan base. It's very strange because they do connect with us, don't they, John? But it's in a very kind of exclusive way.
But it's the same, like what Ian was just saying. It's the same with writers, really. You could have some really good upcoming writers that could write a script. I know Star Trek was well known for it early 90s, wasn't it? Because they allowed the fans to write in and present scripts. But
until
maybe. Yeah, maybe
copyright thing. That was it.
Yeah, maybe they need to look at things like that because they need fresh
times
ideas.
Changing, right? And they need to embrace the fans. That's what.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because those items of merchandise that you brought up earlier, Dan. I mean, they look even more paltry when you put them next to that artwork of the faceless ones. They look even more cheap.
Well, you know that one with Millie, that would be great on a T-shirt. It really would. That would be fantastic.
Why not get either of those two artists, or indeed Phil? You could reach out to artists like that. Imagine Oliver Arkenstall Jones. I'm not saying you'd like the episode anymore, but imagine if he created something based on Space Babies or something like that. They're just based on the imagery. Forget about the episode and the fact we've watched it already, but I'm talking prior to these things actually being on. That things like that alone as a statement of intent, and you could of course you could sort of signpost the tone of the episodes themselves too with carefully considered bits of artwork like that. I like what they did with Lee Binding back in, I think it was 2013, 2014, when they did movie posters for each episode. But they're all, and I love what Lee does, but obviously it's all digital. It's all got a certain sheen about it. There's nothing, because Lee's not that kind of artist, he'd be the first to admit. There's nothing with the creativity of something like this. I know this is a homage, but I don't know. I just think that people are more stirred by things like this in 2024.
You know how many fans they would acquire by doing something like that, by praising the ingenuity of the fans. Those posters are amazing. Every week, Dan, you bring out 4 pictures of what somebody's done. A majority of them are absolutely terrific. They should be hanging up in some gallery somewhere where, Doctor Who people should be embracing this. This is so stupid.
But
I think we're the wrong sort of fans, though, Ian.
Yeah. Even though...
Well, just because we are doesn't mean that Oliver isn't. I mean, Oliver's about 26, 27, something like that. He's a lot younger than you think. Sorry, John.
But I was going to say, even from a cynical point of view, if you're talking merchandising, even if you don't like the episodes and the stories that are being presented by the current production, if you had the artwork like that on, say, like a steelbook, that would tempt me to buy it just for the artwork that was on the steelbook. I might not watch the stories, but I certainly have that in the collection.
Now you've mentioned that's the outlier as well. I have to give them their due. Sophie Cowdery was an artist that they got from the fan base. I think at the time she was in her late 20s, doing a lot of really, really beautiful stuff. around the middle to the end of the Capaldi era, and I think she used to sell it on Etsy. Really detailed stuff, and eventually she got to work on the Steelbook releases, did covers for a lot of those, and she now works as a production designer on the show. And I think she's certainly a lot of the beautiful stuff in the Toy Maker's Domain.
Yeah.
All of that was her work, and most of the best stuff that we see on screen in some of these episodes is from her. So they have picked her up, but obviously she ticks a couple of boxes with the best one in the world, and she's immensely talented. I suspect though that identity probably has something to do with it as well, and that's just Sophie a disservice, because I think she's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to do her down in any way. She's immensely talented, but
shouldn't exclude anybody. It should all be on talent.
Yeah, because Doctor Who's for everyone, right?
Yeah.
The official merch, says Demorpin, the official merch, just like the new official podcast, it's like they go out of their way to find the most talentless, brainless hacks.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly that podcast is practically unlistenable, and there's nothing against the two people who are fronting it. They seem like nice enough people, but it's not. It's a bit of corporate pap. Bless their hearts. I'm sure they have a lot of fun making it, but people who listen to podcasts are not interested in that crap. No.
What you'll find out is Saturday night, Ian's on it, and I go, "What do you think of the episode?" And they'll go, "I'm not talking about it."
Yes, so back to the fan art. Yes, if you're a fan artist or you know a fan artist, you want to get their work up on our view screen because we haven't found them yet, or we might not have seen their work for a little while. Like Oliver, he sneaks them out here and there when you almost you forget to check his accounts. He'll pop out something else. It's absolutely fantastic. Send us their way or them our way, whatever. It all works fine by us. We can get their work up on our screen and not just show you lot, but have a good look ourselves there. Reach out to us through our social media, Instagram and X at Type40 Doctor Who, or you can leave us a comment here if you like. Cut out the middleman by joining us in the Type40 Facebook group to plaster the wall there with fabulous artwork. It doesn't have to be yours, it can be other people's, as long as we know precisely where to find them. I'm not saying that all four of these guys are members of the Type40 Facebook group, but one or two of them may be. You're not going to know for yourself unless you join up at the Type40 Facebook group. The weekend is in sight. Everybody, another new episode, an all-new episode of All New Doctor Who, starring maybe Ncuti Gatwa here and there, if you could be asked, turning up, and Millie Gibson and Cali Cook. And who knows how that's going to go. Some of us are in, some of us are out. Let us know where you stand or sit in the comment section. Oh, fancy a tart, Ian? It's that time again.
Oh dear. Love it. Give me a tart.
It's good custard, I feel like, right now.
Matt, as the only real-life time traveller among us, you got the first word on Friday. How's it looking so far? No flying cars around yet? Nothing like that?
No DeLoreans yet.
No
jetpacks.
Self-lacing trainers, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Shoelaces.
Better luck next week. Better luck next week. Join us again next time and space for more rambling and rattling, ranting and raving through all of space and time on the next Type40 Live. Matt, thank you for your company again, mate. It must be about 6 o'clock in the morning there.
No, it's 8 o'clock.
Oh, that's not. I don't feel quite so guilty now.
I'm up.
He's just been up since 5.
What are you talking about? I just did a marathon, for God's sake. I could have watched Lord of the Rings extended edition.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be as much fun.
I could have watched all the Doctor Who's in this time.
I thought this was going to be a short one. John, thanks for your company again, mate.
Good fun. Thanks all. Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground this time, haven't we? Heaven help us. And Simon, the master of the Doctor Who Diary, thank you again for everything that you do for the show and your company and your tenacity with making your way through halfway through this season of Doctor Who.
Mate, I've bailed. I can't do no more.
I'm gonna make you watch it. I'm gonna make you watch
no more. Don't make me watch anymore.
But you've got a BBC license. You've got to watch something.
Yeah, the rest of us are powering through the rest of the season. It could be you're wishing the weeks away or wishing it would slow the fuck down. I'm sure some people out there are. All views are welcome here at Type 40 Live, as always, so hit us up in the comments. But it is time that we cranked the old handle, and hit the vortex again. I've been Dan Hadley, Birmingham's King of the Geeks. I never say that, do I, for the people who are coming in late? But have I said thank you to Ian? I thought I had.
No, you forgot.
Ian, welcome back, mate. It's been a couple of weeks. It's been great to have you back. Even I get tired now and again. Great to have you back.
No worries.
And I look forward to catching up with you again in a couple of days. As well.
Yep,
so despite the fact you're not watching the show, I hope we've raised a few smiles.
Yeah, no, it's always good to be on Type 40.
It's all good,
especially when you were talking about Pertwee, because he's one of the best. So
he is.
Oh yeah, there you go.
One of the best. Okay, and thank you to everybody who's been watching and listening to all of this in the live chat. Gary Akers, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Gary.
Mate. Many happy returns, and thank you for all your support with Type 40 Live over the last few years. Don't forget, check you're still subscribed to the channel, because YouTube can get a bit funny like that. Check out the podcasts and the playlists, those extra videos, and thanks for the comments. Keep them coming in the comments section. We always have the time if you have the space here at Type 40 Live. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.